November the 17th, 2025. Welcome back to the Two Witnesses Live. It's that time once again for your daily Torment report. We're going to jump right in because we got a lot to catch up on if we're going to make it through everything that was said through the weekend. I am aware of some of the stuff that was handled this weekend, but to be honest, I took a pretty hard break myself from paying attention to what's going on around the world. Just sometimes you got to do that, you know? So most of this is new to me. So you may be more aware of some of this stuff than I am, or this may be brand new to you as well. So I haven't even had time to like zip through this timeline and find where we left off. So we're gonna go from top to bottom this time and just go until we hit something we've seen before. Let's do this. All right, Donald Trump. Congratulations to the world. That's a good start, right? Congratulations, world. All right. Congratulations to the world on the incredible vote of the United Nations Security Council just moments ago, acknowledging and endorsing the Board of Peace. Ooh, interesting. Which will be chaired by me and include the most powerful and respected leaders throughout the world. This will go down as one of the biggest approvals in the history of the United Nations, will lead to further peace all over the world, and in a moment of true historic proportion, thank you to the United... Wait. Will lead to further peace all over the world and is a moment of true historic proportion. Thank you to the United States and all of the countries on the UN Security Council. China, Russia, France, United Kingdom, Algeria, Denmark, Greece, Guyana, South Korea, Pakistan, Panama, Sierra Leone, Slovenia, and Somalia. Also, thank you to those countries that weren't on the committee, but strongly backed the effort, including Qatar, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey. Do you think that's a typo? I'm going to call it a typo. Turkey and Jordan. The members of the board and many more exciting announcements will be made in the coming months. I'm muted? I don't show that I'm muted. Really? Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Don't know why I would be muted. You can't hear anything I'm saying? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hang on a minute. Let me check my... You hear just fine. Okay, well, people hear me. Let's see. Anybody else not hear me? Mexicans are trying to take down their government, and Trump is hinting he may help them. Audio's fine here. Okay, well, Fury, I think it might just be you. Everything is green across my board. I don't have anything that shows me as muted. And since others are saying they can hear me, I'm inclined to think it might be you, Fury. Happy to give you a minute. Didn't Mexico erupt in riots? Mexico. Yeah, I haven't followed up on Mexico. Not sure what's going on down there. But it's interesting. So what do you guys think about this Board of Peace from the United Nations? I know a lot of people. I can already tell you. I can already tell you. People are going to be saying, "See, this is why Donald Trump is the Antichrist because he makes peace with many." Which I get that. I can understand why people might be inclined to think that, but we've looked at that before. That's in Daniel 7. He's not blaspheming God, right? There is one attribute that does fit Donald Trump. I'd be remiss if I ignored that, which is speaking great things. In some texts, it says speaking pompous words. But the original word is speaking great things. That is definitely an attribute of Donald Trump, but is from at least my understanding, he's not blaspheming God. Not yet, anyway. I mean, that could change, but it's interesting. Can you hear me now, Fury? Oh, you say you got it. Okay, well, I'll continue. So, yeah, I'm kind of curious what people think about this. Acknowledging and endorsing the Board of Peace, which will be chaired by him. Is it just the framework that will be used with the covenant of many? You guys know what I'm talking about? Is this the covenant with many? It's almost like every time the word peace is used with something, we're all looking at, is this the covenant with many? Definitely very interesting development, that is for sure. All right, Scott Jennings has just written a powerful new book, A Revolution of Common Sense. How Donald Trump stormed Washington and fought for Western civilization with a distinct wisdom, courage, and common sense, which has made him a formidable force on CNN. Okay. Revolution of Common Sense. He does sell a lot of books on his Truth Social. Lines are forming to run against Rhino, Indiana Senator Rob Bray and those few other senators who support him in the upcoming primaries. Every one of them will lose in record numbers. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right. In the entire United States of America, Republican or Democrat, only Indiana Republican State Senator Rod Bray, a complete and total rhino, is opposed to redistricting for purposes of gaining additional seats in Congress. Interesting. The Democrats have proven to be dishonest and untrustworthy in anything having to do with elections or election integrity. Republicans must be tough and smart if we are going to win the midterms. The Rod Brays of politics are weak and pathetic. I wish he cared about saving our country as much as Democrats care about destroying it. Make America great again. I do wonder if those two could be the same. Let's go there. Actually, let's do it on this window because it looks better. Bible Gateway. Let's go over here. And we'll go to, I think it's where is it? Daniel 7. And so this is talking about the horns. Is Donald Trump the little horn? A little one coming up before them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked out by the roots. I don't think this has taken place yet. Because I don't know who Donald Trump would have plucked up by the roots, because roots would indicate it's an established office already. If we're saying that the horns are associated with some kind of an office, like the office of the president or vice president. And there is this horn. See, and there in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man and a mouth speaking pompous words. The word here, pompous, is great things, which that's an attribute of Donald Trump. But where it kind of falls apart is I watched then because of the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking. I watched till the beast was slain and its body destroyed and given to the burning flame. And as for the rest of the beast, they had her dominion taken away. Where does it say? Let's see. I grieved in my spirit. I came near. Let's see. Am I in the wrong section? I might be thinking of Daniel 9. I came near those. So this one I was thinking. So it's the little horn I'm thinking about that doesn't have the attributes. Let's see. Then I wish to know the truth. I watched. Let's see. And the same horn was making war against the saints and prevailing against them. Yeah. So this horn, this little horn, this is one of the reasons I don't think Donald Trump is the little horn. That horn, which had eyes and a mouth and spoke great words, whose appearance was greater than his fellows, I watched, and the same horn was making war against the saints and prevailing against them. I don't think that's true of Donald Trump. So I think that eliminates him as a possibility for the little horn. Now, where is it that the So it's not the little horn that makes peace for 7 years. Is that in Daniel 9? I always get these mixed up. I think that's Daniel 9 at the end. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering, and on the wings of abomination shall be one who makes desolate. All right. Where is it? So he makes a covenant. So where is this? See, this one doesn't even fit it either. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 70 weeks and 62 weeks. My understanding is that is until Yeshua. A street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome times. And after 62 weeks. Oh, wait. So is that after Yeshua? No, because this is when until Messiah the Prince. Right. To restore and build until. Then shall be 70. I need to brush up on this one. I keep referring to it, and I keep messing it up on when this is. Know therefore and understand that go from the going forth. So the covenant with many, and after 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. See, that sounds like Yeshua. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with a flood. I believe this already happened. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. Yeah, so confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. So this is just a covenant with many. What is that covenant? A treaty. With many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to the sacrifice and offering. Yeah, there's nothing about peace here. So I don't think any of this applies in any way, shape, or form to that covenant with the covenant with or with any kind of a peace treaty or peace agreement. But I get the sense that people are going to try and use that. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Let me know in the chat if I'm thinking of something else in regards to making a peace agreement. This is the one I think of, where the prince of the people who is to come. Let's see, and the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with a flood. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. This is what I think people are going to probably associate with that peace agreement that just got voted on in the United Nations. It could fit. Because they like to say that this is the Antichrist, right? That's really what I'm referring to. Is the common teaching on this is that this is the Antichrist who's going to make a covenant with many for 1 week, which is commonly understood in this line of thinking that 1 week is 7 years. And then in the middle of that week, after 3.5 years, he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. And on the wings of abomination shall be one who makes desolates. Just doesn't fit with the timing of things. Then he shall confirm a covenant, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to the sacrifice. See, right now there's no sacrifice and offering. So, and there's been so many covenants with many at this point that it would be really hard to nail this down. So you really got to base this off the 62 weeks if you're going to figure out where this fits in the timeline. I think I'm going to brush up on this tonight after the show and see if I can't have a more intelligent conversation in where this fits, just to be prepared for those who may use this new peace position where Donald Trump is the chair of this board of peace as another thing to try and accuse him. All right. Anyway, make America great again. I wish he cared about saving our country as much as the Democrats care about destroying it. Oh, the reason I went down that rabbit hole is if Donald Trump were the little horn, you would have to find something that would be considered blaspheming God and making war against the saints. And what got me to think about that is, is his movement Make America Great Again? Could that be considered war against the saints or blaspheming God in any way? I don't think it can. At least nothing comes to mind that would make it fit. Instead, it seems more likely that Make America Great Again, since it's based on In God We Trust, and it has a very Christian foundation, that I would believe that I'm more inclined to believe that this fits with one of the olive trees, one of the two olive trees that stand before the Lord of the whole earth, who provide oil to those lamps, which we know to be the churches. So anyway, let's move on from this because I'm just killing time. Let's see. If anything, it'll be a false piece. Let's see. The Antichrist is, I think, from the line of Daniel. No. The Antichrist is a spirit. It's not even a person. See, I'm seeing a change with Trump. Kind of worried a bit watching closely. You and me both. Yeah. I thought we lost that. I see it too. Trump threatened to join the Mexicans against their government after the mayor died. They saw how corrupt their government is and asked for his help. They rioted against her. No, it is a king who makes peace. No, there would have to be a tabernacle. Yeah, see, that's the whole thing. I don't even know if the temple's honestly ever going to be built. Because I keep going back to that 1 Corinthians 3:16. Don't you know that you are the temple of God? And to me, that makes so much more sense with what Jesus accomplished, to where, his sacrifice covered our sins. The gift of Holy Spirit is almost like the glue that holds us all together. It's almost like it's the mortar between the bricks building a temple. And then that temple is where God dwells within. So I have a hard time with a temple being built again. I don't even know if God will allow it. That could be why it's just constantly, it's in their plans, but it may never actually happen. And if it does happen, God may not dwell there. So I don't know. I think that's part of I think that's part of the strong delusion that's talked about in Thessalonians, and I will send a strong delusion, is I see so many people that are deceived by this fake narrative about the Antichrist. If you, I promise, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. The Antichrist is a spirit. It's very clear that it's a spirit, and there's such a massive, the dominant teaching about the Antichrist is that it's a person. And it's so hard to make that argument using scripture. Really, you have to make assumptions in order to make that argument. But when you look at the attributes as it's defined, so if you have any respect at all for hermeneutics, so like, the rules of hermeneutics that we have, come to agree on to govern how to interpret the Bible, if you actually follow hermeneutics, it's very hard to make an honest argument that the Antichrist is a man. Because it very specifically says that it is the spirit of Antichrist, and that the spirit of Antichrist has been here since Christ died. So it's, in my opinion, it's a spirit that has been at work ever since Christ died. So when Christ was here, there was no Antichrist. But when he died, that was when the spirit of Antichrist came on the scene, and it has been at work in the church to work against what Christ started and has been building this entire time. So he has been successfully building the temple since his death, and via the gift of Holy Spirit, I believe. And the spirit of Antichrist has been what's been actively working against that. That's my understanding. So the fact that people are waiting for this person to go into a temple which doesn't exist and declare that he is God, I don't see that as an actual reality of something that's going to happen. But that is what people are looking for, and that is the most dominant teaching when it comes to Antichrist. Anyway, let's see. No. Yeah, the tabernacle. Okay, so let's continue. I will be strongly endorsing against any state senator or House member from the great state of Indiana that votes against the Republican Party and our nation by not allowing for redistricting for congressional seats in the United States House of Representatives, as every other state in our nation is doing. Republican or Democrat, Democrats are trying to steal our seats everywhere, and we're not going to let this happen. This all began with the rigged census. We must keep the majority at all costs. Republicans must fight back. Cash. Funny memes. Yeah, it's Cash looking for who's next. Wray lied. So Christopher Wray testified before Congress that he did not place FBI agents in the crowd on January 6th. He also needs to be indicted for lying to Congress and do some hard time. These lawless Biden admin Democrats are literally self-identifying or being handed to the Department of Justice on a silver platter. Dear Pam Bondi, for the love of God, just arrest somebody. So that's somebody replying to Donald Trump. Oh, that's funny. What did Trump say? It was just revealed that the FBI had secretly placed against all rules, regulations, protocols, and standards. This isn't new. We knew this a while ago. 274 FBI agents into the crowd just prior to and during the January 6th hoax. This is different from what Director Christopher Wray stated over and over again. That's right. As it now turns out, FBI agents were at and in the January 6th protest. We knew this. This is not the first time we've heard this information. Probably acting as agitators. Yeah. Yeah, we've already heard that. It's not new. All right. Oh, darn it. He did respond to that one. For the love of God, just arrest somebody. All right. Obama's Russia hoax treason club. One down. Oh, boy. Yep. Let's see. It was just revealed that the FBI had secret... Okay, we already read that. Emilio is also a great friend of UFC star, a truly great and popular fighting machine, Jorge Masvidal, who strongly supported me all 3 times, helping me to get the most votes in the history of Florida by far, and also a record-setting Hispanic vote. Elect Emilio T. Gonzalez. He will be great. It is my great honor to endorse Emilio T. Gonzalez. Okay. President Trump on the border. I had a very safe border the first 4 years, but now I have a really safe border. But I didn't have to go Congress to do it. You're the president.
You know, Biden, Sleepy Joe Biden, one of the worst, definitely the worst president in the history of our country, but a man who didn't do a good job in any way. But, you know, he said, I can't stop the people from coming in because I need an act of Congress. And I can't get it. He said, you don't need an act of Congress. All you have to do is say, nobody comes into, I didn't get an act of Congress. So I had a very safe border the first time, the first 4 years, but now I have a really safe border. But I didn't have to go to Congress to do that. You're the president. It's a very strong presidency, and you say, stop the people from coming in. And they listen to me, and nobody comes in. I mean, literally nobody, other than if they come in legally. We have a good process for coming in. You have to learn. You have to, you have to show that you can love the country. Biden was just a terrible president. What he did with inflation, what he did with other things was that we had the highest inflation in the history of the country. Now we have almost no inflation. But what he did with allowing millions of people to come in. Now the difference is I'm moving them out. I'm getting them out.
Yeah. Safe border. Go-kart Bob, you're correct. As I recall, the spirit is italicized. So in First John, where it says the spirit of Antichrist, I believe I can't remember off the top of my head if all the occurrences, but you could be right. It could just refer to Antichrist. But go look at First John 4, where it says you had heard Antichrist was coming, and the Antichrist is here. Matter of fact, okay, let's go look at this, because I don't want to misquote this. So First John 4. We'll do this real quick. So what does it say? And every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit here is italicized. That means it's not in the text. And this is the Antichrist, which you have heard was coming and is now already in the world. My argument for this is, number one, you have to know the attributes of Antichrist. So where the word Antichrist is here has very specific attributes. So whether it's people with those attributes or a spirit that causes those attributes, I think the end result is still the same. And my argument still holds true that these attributes are not present in Daniel. So not Daniel 7 with the little horn, and it's not present in Daniel 9 with the prince who is to come, who makes a covenant with many. So the attributes from Antichrist, where it is used, are deny the Father and the Son, deny that Jesus came in the flesh, and deny that Jesus is the Messiah, and also that they're liars and deceivers. So those are the attributes that are listed when in relation to Antichrist. But why I think they probably added the word spirit here is because of the context. So if you start and you read in chapter or 1 John 4:1, it says, "And do not believe every spirit." So that's the context. But test the spirits whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. So there's literally a test to identify to identify whether a spirit has come from God. So I think that's why the word spirit was added there. But my argument still holds true to where I personally have a problem with people who use the word Antichrist in other sections of the scriptures, because I think it blinds you to understanding what's actually being said. So the little horn doesn't have any of the attributes of Antichrist explicitly. And little horn is really what I think most people mean when they use the word Antichrist, because it is a ruler in the end time who usurps authority. Anyway. Yeah. Well, you may have pointed it out to me. I don't retain everything in my brain. Okay, let's get back to where we were. True Social. Man, we're going to be here forever. We don't speed this up. Depending on how much you posted. I know they were pretty busy this weekend, so I have a feeling we're going to be here. We're going to be pushing 2 to 3 hours. All right, Golden Age. Since the president took office, companies have invested trillions of dollars into their U.S.-based operations, onshoring and creating hundreds of thousands of new jobs for Americans. Nice. The president and the first lady signed an executive order to foster the future for American children and families. Nice. Let's skip reading these today. Eric Doherty. This was basically yesterday. Just in, Senator John Kennedy is going off right now. Those who've read history understand socialism is for morons. Seattle just elected a new mayor. I don't know her, but she's a typical moron. All right, what is this? This guy responds to why he's defending Trump amid recent accusations. Simple, I oppose such behavior. But like the boy who cried wolf, Democrats repeated lies, erode trust, Russia collusion, fine people. Yep. This is treason. Huh. Tempting. Insider trading bombshell. 3 Dems on powerful spending committee just got exposed, raking in up to 250% gains on stocks directly tied to the billions they control. See, and that's a big part of the Democrat Party is it's a 2-tier system. Is they're allowed to do things that we get thrown in jail for. How is it that they're up such a high percentage on these things? Well, we know that they have access to privileged information, and because there's no law that prevents them from making money on it. But if you or I were to try and buy stocks based on inside information, you'd go to jail. Look at what was the who was that one lady? Anyway, some high profile people have gone to jail for insider trading. Marco Rubio is crushing it as Secretary of State. Agreed. Border czar Tom Holman. What have they achieved in Chicago? What have they achieved? Nothing. ICE arrested people today. They will be arresting people tonight. They're going to be arresting people every day. Yeah. All right, what do we got here?
Staff said, do your Privacy Act review and get out these documents. Well, they didn't do the Privacy Act review. They did the Mar-a-Lago raid. That was the whole point of the Mar-a-Lago raid, was to get back Crossfire Hurricane. And that's what led to the 3 years of the lawfare against President Trump after he left office. 4 indictments for non-crimes. January 6th was part of that, where these Democrats and even some Republicans were trying to use January 6th to try to get rid of MAGA more broadly.
Okay.
Okay. All right, what is this?
The real thing that is going to happen that is going to give Americans real purchasing power increases. It's going to be through growth. We passed the one big, beautiful bill. I am also the IRS commissioner, and I can see that working Americans, thanks to the president living up to his campaign promises, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans. If you buy an American car, there are going to be substantial refunds in the first quarter of 26. Working Americans will change their withholdings, and they will get a bump up in their real incomes. So I would expect in the first 2 quarters, we are going to see the inflation curve bend down and the real income curve substantially accelerate. And when those 2 lines cross, Americans are going to feel it. But Maria, I will tell you what we're not going to do. What we're not going to do is tell the American people that they don't know how they're feeling, which is what the Biden administration did. They said it was a vibe session. You don't know how good you have it. And we are working every day to get these prices down.
Yeah. I have all confidence that prices are going to be coming down. And I think it's further evidence that we have the timeline right. So this timeline, oops, hang on a minute. There you go. You can't see my mouse, but this first part here between 2017 and 2024, that's where the inflation really took root. And it was, and that's the first 4 seals, I believe, based on what's highlighted in yellow down here. Those are the first 4 seals. And I think we're still technically in seal number 4 until seal number 5 opens. I think we're still in seal number 4. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I mean, inflation has already come down. It shot up to 9%, which is the official number. A lot of people say it went as high as 30%, but 9% is the official number. And that's probably the more conservative number. So it shot up to 9%, and now it's back down to like 2, and they're working on getting it down to like 1%. They don't want it at 0. They want it like between 1 and 2%. But that's another just another piece of the puzzle that is leading me to believe that we're in this time frame, and I'm not the only one saying this. I'm providing additional evidence that confirms the calendar. Messiah 2030 is another big channel that's looking at 2030. There's a website called Messiah 2027, which is pointing to the rapture, which lines up with where I believe the two witnesses are killed in between 2027 2028. So, but it's so interesting to me. So from the economic perspective, when we hear about like inflation coming down and prices coming down and the cost of living becoming more affordable, somebody had mentioned that a big part of what caused inflation was the massive immigration and consumption of resources, which makes sense to where now that they've shut the border, we don't have this massive flood of locusts that are just eating the crops can start to grow again and bring down prices. So it's all relative, and it all just kind of, to me, it points that we're in the right direction. We're in the right ballpark of the events that are written about. And to me, it makes me happy as can all be that, because to me it just means that our redemption is so close. I don't know about you guys, but I'm super excited about our redemption, and I feel like we're learning more new things. It's almost like we're learning new things all the time. I spent some time this weekend working on that. I really wanted to finish the video, but I didn't get a chance to. I didn't get everything that I wanted to put into the video, but I wrote an essay a couple days ago about quantum physics and how it can help explain prayer and spirit and the way things work. It's almost like it's a missing piece of the puzzle, because when you realize that there's a science out there that has proven that a molecule or a particle can hold something called superposition, which means it can be multiple things until it is observed or measured, then it takes its form. I mean, that fits with prayer so perfectly to where why it makes sense to actually pray. Quantum mechanics, oddly enough, and this is something I never thought that I would actually understand. We're just in this period of time to where it's just like new information is being revealed. But to me, it's an indication that we're so close to that full redemption. And it just gets more exciting the closer we get. All right, let's continue. Add.
Well, first of all, if you look at the history of inflation, right, what happened was that there was runaway Democrat spending in Joe Biden's term, and we got inflation up almost to 10%. It averaged 5% over the 4 years. And that has created a situation where, for example, mortgage rates went up. And so the typical payment for a monthly mortgage payment almost doubled. A bag of groceries that cost $400 a month when President Trump left office is $500 or $515 when President Trump came back this time. And so that there's this really big hole that's been dug. And then the question you could also ask as an economist is, how do I summarize all those different prices and everything? And one of the ways you could do it is just look at purchase. Well, the purchasing power dropped by about $3,000 under Joe Biden because the wages didn't keep up with prices. Under President Trump, it's already gone up by about $1,200. We understand that people still feel the pain of the high prices, but we're closing the gap and filling the gap fast.
I don't want to get into.
So not exactly a day's wage. The interpretation of Revelation 6:6, it says, "In the midst of the four living creatures, I heard a measure of wheat for a denarius and three measures of barley for a denarius." One of the common teachings is that the denarius is a day's wage, which would be equivalent to like a penny. I don't know if I don't know what that's based on. It's just something that I've always repeated. I can't honestly say that I remember ever really looking it up. I just trusted that whoever taught that had done their homework. Probably a failure on my part, obviously, because so either it was meant to just so that analogy was either meant to just indicate that there will be inflation in the middle of the four living creatures, or it was meant to be exact. And I think that's one of the things that people have a hard time with is eating. So we're not working for an entire day just to eat. According to what he said, it's only about a 20% increase. So the official government answer is 9%, but what he's saying is 20% because it used to cost $400 for a basket of groceries, and then it went up to $500. So it went up $100. So that makes it what, 20% of an increase. And then so far Trump has gotten it back down to like $450, but it's still going down. So it still indicates to me that we're in the so what that means so what it indicates to me is that it's probably not meant to be literal, that it's just indicating that it's that there's inflation during that time. I think that seems to be the message. I could be wrong, but that's an observation. That's based on observation, right? If we indeed are living in those times and the Biden administration is indeed the midst of the four living creatures, then I would argue that the measure of wheat for a denarius, three measures of barley for a denarius was given as an indication that there would be inflation, not that it would literally cost a day's wage to eat. But that's opinion on my part. Opinion based on observation. Let's see. We got everything we have voted for. Thank you, President Trump. 10 months, trillions in investments, 8 wars ended. Border is completely shut. Mass deportations underway. Signed the Lake and Riley Act. Tamped down inflation. Real wages rising higher than Biden's years. Energy dominance unleashed. Gas prices fell. Tariffs resolving trade deals and bringing back manufacturing. Tax cuts. Largest middle class cut in history. Tips overtime. Respect and strength on the world stage. Blowing up cartels and narco terrorists. DEI is out. Merit is in. Protecting women's sports. Promises made. Promises kept. Or promise made. Promise kept. Pretty awesome. Alrighty, so shameful Trump handed them a recovered economy after COVID with record low inflation. They gave it back to him completely destroyed. Trump will fix it again. Oh, here's some interesting stats. So from January 2021 to January 2025, the CPIU rose about 22%. I don't know what the CPIU is, which translates to roughly $14,700 more in annual expenditures for the average consumer unit, starting from $66,928 in 2021 per BLS data. Electricity rates for residential users climbed from around 13.7 cents per kilowatt hour to 15.9 cents per kilowatt hour, according to the EIA figures. These rises occurred amid various economic factors, including supply chain issues and energy market shifts. So I wonder if the measure of wheat for a denarius isn't an all-encompassing increase, because this is a good point, because it's more than just food. I mean, like, it's more than just inflation. There's also energy costs and supply chain shortages. Yep. Seems like we finally got their attention. Let's see. Kevin Hassett is exactly right. Under Biden, Americans lost roughly $3,000 in purchasing power because wages got crushed. I feel like I'm like in that post? I am. We're just reading the comments. Ugh, I hate it when that happens. All right. Love it, President Trump. He is the best president in history. Agreed. I feel blessed to live in a time where we have a goat in our White House. All the hate from the left is just white noise. Yeah. Researchers at the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco examined major tariff changes from 1870 through 2020 across the United States, United Kingdom, and France. Their conclusion challenges the conventional. I kind of want to read that. Fed study vindicates Trump's trade policy. 150 years of evidence shows tariffs lower inflation. Well, wouldn't you look at that? Interesting. See, there's that's another link to Revelation 6:6. There's going to be so much evidence by the time we're done with the Trump administration that the Bible is true that it's going to be irrefutable. It will literally be gross negligence to deny it. I mean, these little things add up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And really ultimately what it shows is that Yeshua was the Messiah beyond a shadow of a doubt. I've never doubted that Yeshua is the Messiah, but there's a lot of people who do doubt that Yeshua is the Messiah. Christians by and large don't, but Jews, the Jews still don't accept Jesus as their Messiah. But everything that is happening, he told us about. He told his disciples about, and it is written in a book that's been around for 2,000 years. There's got to be a point where all the evidence stacks up to the point to where it's irrefutable for them. I wonder where that point is going to be. When are the Jews going to realize that Yeshua is the Messiah that they've been waiting for? Because he said that he would not, he would not see them again until they said, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." So there's got to be a period of time. There's got to be a point where the Jews collectively recognize Jesus is their Messiah. Maybe it's winning them over one by one. I don't know. Maybe it's at the end of this broadcast when we've been doing this for 3.5 years and turn out. Can you imagine what that's going to be like, at the end of 3.5 years if we're actually right about Donald Trump and Elon Musk being the two witnesses? I still have my doubts. You hear me going back and forth on a almost daily basis about especially Elon Musk, but I don't know. I'm pretty set on both of them at this point. But like you heard me recently when Donald Trump barely posted anything on one particular day. And it's just like, does this count as prophecy? What happens if he misses a day? Does this exclude him from being one of the two witnesses? But if we do actually make it to that finish line to where we've been doing this for 1,260 days and something does happen to them, maybe that's at the point. And I'm not saying that, our effort is going to be the ones that, finally convince the Jews, but it can at least go to help. Right? It's not going to hurt if it does turn out that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the two olive trees that were prophesied about in the book of Zechariah. But interesting that the tariffs bring down inflation, because that to me points to Revelation 6:6. The Trump tariffs will replace federal income tax, rebuild manufacturing, reinforce the dollar, reshape a new era of prosperity. And that makes sense to me, and I'm excited about that. I hate taxes. It's like pulling out teeth every time tax time comes around. I think that's for most people, unless you work a job where the taxes are primarily done for you, and all you got to really do is just sign the paperwork. Anyway, if Democrats had something on Trump relative to Epstein, they would have indicted him years ago. They didn't because there is nothing. Yeah, I don't buy anything that they've been saying about Epstein and him. Yeah, I'm pretty much of the opinion now that Trump is responsible for Epstein being arrested, persecuted, and being in prison in the first place. The arguments I've heard for that are pretty compelling. All right, moving on. This is hilarious. Tyrus recounts a tweet exchange between himself and President Trump. Man, we're already at an hour. I really would like to go in and read some of these articles. I just don't think we have time. We haven't even got to the weekend yet. Bombshell admission in a jaw-dropping CNN interview. Liz Smith, a high-ranking Democrat consultant, confessed that the 34 felony charges against President Trump were not the result of a legitimate. Ooh, this one's interesting. How hard would it be to get to that article? Let's just keep going. I really want to read this one though. Bill, you might be wondering why I'm trying to find the article. This browser that I'm using right here doesn't open up these links, so I have to do it on another monitor. But it's going to take me too long to find it to open it. Bill Maher drops a reality bomb on Zohran Mamdani voters with a brutal history lesson on socialism. We've run this experiment many times, and the results are always obvious. Yeah. Let's just skip these because I get my hopes up and then we can't open them. Let's see. It's a Democrat hoax for purposes of deflection, just like the Russia scam. They had the sleazy relationships with Epstein and should be prosecuted. If Jeffrey Epstein had any dirt on Donald Trump, he would have had great leverage in the criminal case against him at the time he died. The fact that he unequivocally said he had none ought to shut down the false claims otherwise. But facts are no obstacle to political attacks. Yeah. Don't let facts get in the way of a good story, as they say. Here he's endorsing Emilio. Runoff. Let's see. Wacky Marjorie. Yeah, Wacky Marjorie Trader Brown. Remember, green turns to brown where there is rot involved. Oh my God. Is working overtime to try and portray herself as a victim when actuality she is the cause of all her own problems. The fact is, nobody cares about this traitor to our country. Wow. That must be her maiden name, Marjorie Brown. Because isn't it Marjorie Taylor Greene? Is that why it says green turns to brown where there is rot involved? I don't know all of her last names. I just know her as Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Trader Brown. Thank God. Okie doke. Let's see. As I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One, to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein. Oh, okay. I didn't realize he said this. As I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One, to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by the radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein. Are looking at various Democrat operatives, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Sumner's, etc., and their relationship to Epstein, and the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. I don't care. All I do care about is that the Republicans get back on point, which is the economy, affordability, where we are winning big, our victory on reducing inflation from the highest level in history to practically nothing, bringing down prices for the American people, delivering historic tax cuts, gaining trillions of dollars of investments into America, a record, the rebuilding of our military, securing our border, deporting criminal illegal aliens, ending men and women's sports, stopping transgender for everyone. Should make a song out of this, and so much more. Nobody cared about Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive, and if the Democrats had anything, they would have released it before our landslide election victory. Some members of the Republican Party are being used, and we can't let that happen. Let's start talking about the Republican Party's record-setting achievements and not fall into the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on the Democrats, not us. Make America great. Make America great again. Zoinks. She was never brown. She did bring it on herself. So Tucker. Yeah. Okie doke. Very disappointed in Indiana state Republicans led by Rhino Senator. Okay, he's already said this. This was a day ago, so he repeated it again today. The Democrats have done. Yeah, we're not going to read that. Let's see. From doom to boom, how Trump's tariffs are powering the U.S. economy. 6 months ago, critics warned that President Donald Trump's tariffs would crush the economy. They said Americans would face soaring prices and crashing markets. The reality, as we near the end of 2025, the story looks very different. Growth is up, markets are strong, and strategic onshore opportunities are emerging. Let's break it down. This is why I don't trust experts on, and the same thing goes with religion. This is why I don't trust like pastors and preachers and people in positions of power who claim to be ordained by God, who claim to be anointed, who claim to come in the name of Yeshua, who claim to have special knowledge. Most of them are liars. I mean, like even this, it's like so many people fought against Donald Trump and his tariffs because, as the experts, they were sure it was going to crush the economy. It's the same thing, different group. It's just like people do this in religion too, to where they demand your acceptance of their doctrine, even though it may not be biblical. And that happens today in so many different ways, especially with end time events. There are people who demand you believe their doctrine because because that's what they were taught and they believe it. And it's so interesting to see people defend doctrines that they can't prove because they turn to gaslighting, they turn to attacks. Oh man, Tucker Carlson has really turned into that kind of a person. I was watching him interview Ted Cruz, and I was feeling bad for Ted Cruz. Did you guys see that interview? Man, Tucker Carlson's really going down the drain lately with his interviews, to where it's like, whose side is he on? Because it's not like he's trying to get to the truth. It's more he's just trying to, it's almost like somebody is paying him to make people look bad. And he's doing a terrible job at it too. But anyway, this is one of the reasons why I don't trust experts. Tariffs are boosting revenue. Let's see, rather than dragging the economy down, tariffs have become a colossal source of income or revenue. Tariff collections hit $100 billion in the first half of fiscal 2025, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection expects that figure to eclipse $300 billion by the end of the year. That money is helping real Americans, supporting military families, and making sure our service members receive their paychecks on time during the government shutdown. Let's see. NBC's Seth Meyers is suffering from an incurable case of Trump derangement syndrome. He was viewed last night in an uncontrollable rage, likely due to the fact that his show is a ratings disaster. Aside from everything else, Myers has no talent, and NBC should fire him immediately. Fire from the mouth. Wouldn't that be funny if literally fire from the mouth meant using the words "you're fired"? I mean, think about it. What if John was watching Donald Trump fire somebody and he wrote it down, fire, the two witnesses breathing fire from their mouth? maybe he thought that, like, I don't know. This is the thing I wonder about, like when with prophetic visions, what did John see? Because so Jesus gave the information to his disciples, but after Jesus's ascension to the right hand of God, he sent his angel to John to what's the word use? To signify. Is it signify? It's in Revelation 1. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave to him to show his servants things which must shortly take place, and he sent and signified it by his angel to his servant John. So it was given to Jesus. Jesus gave it to his servants, And then Jesus also sent his angel. So this would be after his ascension, sent his angel to signify it to John. So the question is did John see, did he just see something that communicated to him, so he wrote it down? So when he was seeing what the angel was showing him about the two witnesses, right? Did he see two men breathing fire? Or did he see two men using the words fire? That's what I wonder. Questions I'm going to answer once the Lord is back. Or questions I will ask once the Lord is back, and then I will have an answer. All right, moving on. Marjorie Trader Greene is a disgrace to our great Republican Party. Yikes. Or was John shown a picture of the two witnesses breathing fire on those that would harm them as a way of indicating that they would be using very strong words such as Marjorie Trader Greene? I mean, that's really hard to say towards somebody, but he's not mincing words. Yikes. I am withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, are we done? No, that's a repeat. So this is 3 days ago. We read that one. This is 2 days ago. Lightweight Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Green grass turns brown when it begins to rot. Ouch. Betrayed the entire Republican Party when she turned left. Performed poorly on the pathetic View and became the rhino that we all know she always was. Just another fake politician, no different than Rand Paul Jr., Thomas Massey, who got caught being a full-fledged Republican in name only. Make America great again. Unaffordable Care Act. Trump 2028. This has got to be him trolling. I can't imagine he wants to do another term. That would be one reason why they may try to take him out. I'll tell you what. If he finds a path to run for 2028, I can't imagine that the beast would allow that to happen. That might explain why the beast rises from the bottomless pit and kills the two witnesses, if you know what I mean. Let's see. You've literally been all over the map since he told you the truth. You're not built for the Senate, and you never... See, who's he referring to? You're not built for the Senate, and you never will be. You speak on things wildly without having any deep understanding of any subject you speak on. Your Doge subcommittee was a complete failure, and the most successful part of it was a freshman congressman from Texas. You have done nothing but opportunistically let liberals pass you around like a cheap political football on television for media hits, where they sing your praise and pretend that you are being bold and ask great questions. You have no solutions. You're a grandstander, and now you're being called out for it. Best of luck. You're going to need it. What the heck? P.T. Ward. What is this in regards to? Is that Marjorie Taylor Greene? For anyone wondering, this post is about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Make truth great again. I was wondering. Wow. Huh. Yeah, he does go on rampages, doesn't he? He fights for America every day. You seem to be focused on getting likes. Oh. Hope it was worth it. I'm from a district similar to yours, Massey's, in fact. I know my family, friends, and I cannot wait to vote against Massey. I bet many of yours feel the same. Don't pretend it's just about the files. Others are doing the same, and we're fine with that. Your political future just ended. Man, I will tell you, though, it is so hard to discern with today's level of technology and with the amount of information we consume on a daily basis. It can be really hard to figure out what's propaganda and what's actually true. I don't like that part at all. I can't wait until we're done with this. Let's see. You chose your side. You joined the Democrats. You want to better your political future in 2028 instead of helping President Trump fix this country, which is why we voted for him again. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I'm sure Whoopi's always going to hire you on The View. Man, they're really, really beating her down. That's him withdrawing his support again. I think we might have finally reached the end. Yep. Yep. Yeah, so this is where we are. So we did that in an hour. Not too bad. There's hope. We may get this done in 2 hours, our typical time. All right, let's you guys have any questions, anything you want to talk about? I know I went down some rabbit holes there. Do you guys have anything you want to circle back around to before I move on to Elon Musk? Usually when a word is added for clarity, it's because they think it was understood. Spirit, currently air, breath, or by analogy, figuratively, a spirit that is human. Yeah, just because. So the concordance, you got to remember that the concordance is built based on usage. So if the dominant teaching is that the Antichrist is a person, you will find the research materials will reflect that. That is a common thing. For instance, the Septuagint, there are people who don't consider it a work of authority because it has it's got a similar path. The past, so it's if you're using G4151 because it's by analogy or figuratively spirit that is human as a means to indicate that spirit is the wrong word there and that Antichrist could be referring to a person. I mean, you're welcome to that opinion. It's just I think my argument still stands when I say the way that most people use the word Antichrist today is wrong. They're treating it, number one, they're usually referring to the little horn. And it's my opinion that they should use the word little horn. Little horn is just as cool as Antichrist. I think people use the word Antichrist because it sounds cool. I mean, he sounds like a villain, right? It sounds like, Galacticus or something like that, Antichrist. It's such a Hollywood word, but it's become like Kleenex now, where people use that word. Really, they're using it in place of either little horn or the eighth horn mentioned in Revelation 17, the one that rides, I think the rider on the woman in crimson, because doesn't that talk about an eighth horn, which I believe is referring to the little horn. So there are correlations there. My argument in regards to why it's important to be very clear on what you're referring to is because are you referring to that test of Antichrist where, to test if the spirit is from God, does it deny that Jesus Christ came in the flesh? Nothing about the little horn says that. There's nothing about the little horn denying Jesus Christ came in the flesh. Not written anyways. So purely from a textual basis, you might be able to infer, that the little horn is Antichrist by saying that he might be an Antichrist. Anyway, I feel like I'm going to go down a rabbit hole if I keep talking about it. But it does say human. Yeah, I don't think we're really arguing about anything. I think we're in agreement. Go Kart Bob. I think most people who've been around understand my point in bringing up not using the word Antichrist because it confuses. I think it's most important in regards to Second Thessalonians, because people are looking for a man to go into a physical temple and declare that he is God. I think that is part of the strong delusion, or something along those lines is part of the strong delusion, because I honestly don't think that's going to happen. I can't see how, I don't see what benefit somebody would have Of course, I mean, I guess when you think about it, you know, 7 years ago, did you think that we would be talking about quantum physics and artificial intelligence and Optimus robots and full self-driving cars? And I don't know. I guess it is kind of hard to visualize what the future is like. I just have a hard time believing that anybody would take somebody serious. Number one, I have a hard time believing that anybody would think there would be a profit as in a benefit going into. So let's assume that the Jews build their temple, right? I have a hard time believing that somebody would go into the temple and say, I am your God. That's what most Christians, when they're looking for this Antichrist, which they're using it as a metric to determine where they are in the timeline, they're waiting for that to happen. And I think that's one of the problems with, by not being accurate enough about who the Antichrist is and what the Bible actually says about the Antichrist, is a lot of people are missing where we are in the timeline. And to me, it seems that that's a good explanation for why um, Jesus repeatedly says, if you do not watch, I will come upon you like a thief in the night. Because everything that we're doing is observation based. We're observing prophecy come to pass in real time, and they're not. Most people who are holding to this Antichrist who sits in the temple of God and declares himself God, a lot of them don't know where we are in the timeline, and they're not going to have a clue when Christ is going to come back, and he's going to come upon them like a thief in the night. And who knows what that means? Maybe that means that they haven't gotten their shit together in time when he actually returns, because we have that parable of the 10 virgins. 5 of them are prepared, 5 of them are unprepared. So is this one of those contributing factors that means that they are not prepared when he returns? I don't know what that means for their lives. I want to believe the best of everybody. I want everybody to to be winners. I want everybody to be caught up. I have no idea what it means. But in that parable, 5 of the virgins get left behind. So is that the consequence? I'd hate for that to be the case. I don't think it is. But that's really my point in the whole being. We need to be accurate with what we're talking about with Antichrist, because it's that kind of thinking when you're not really clear about what the scripture says, and when you teach it to other people as though it's going to be a man who sits in the temple and declares himself God. If that's the key thing that people are waiting for to go, aha, I knew we were in the end times. That man's the Antichrist. I mean, like, maybe it really happens. I don't think it's going to happen. And I've made I think a very good argument for why that's not the case, but anywho. Yeah. Yeah. No, what I think for like the little horn, I do think that there will probably be. So I think and so based on everything we've observed, this is what I can extrapolate so far. It seems as though Donald Trump and Elon Musk are protecting our freedoms right now. Um, I believe that if it weren't for them, they would be, if Donald Trump didn't win the presidency, he'd be in prison. And if Elon Musk did not buy Twitter, then we would all, then probably whatever the beast from the earth is would have happened 3 years sooner. That's what I think would have happened. So by Elon Musk buying Twitter, he protected freedom of speech. And by Donald Trump winning the office of the presidency, he continues to protect our freedoms for now. They are the obstacles that are in the way. And I believe that somebody in the world is going to do something, probably maybe the CIA, the FBI, maybe another country. I don't know. So I don't know what the beast from the bottomless pit is. I think we'll know once it happens. We'll be like, oh, that's what the beast from the bottomless pit is. So whatever it means. So if it means that they literally die and they lay in the street for 3.5 days, or if it's some kind of a figure of speech, which, man, I hope it's not a figure of speech because those are so hard to identify. But when it happens, I think it'll be very clear. But what I think is probably going to happen is towards the end of the Trump administration, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they're going to do something to them so that they can get back on track to where we were heading, so we can get back on that trajectory of where the world was heading before they stepped up and stopped it. So before Elon bought Twitter and before Donald Trump became president, we were on a trajectory of world dominance. So based on observation, what it looks like very likely will happen is they're probably going to take those two out. And it's either going to be a country, it's going to be a something like the United Nations. It could be a person. It could be two people. It could, I mean, like when you think about a beast from the land, I think of, some kind of a kingdom that has a king leading it. So I can imagine, somebody from some group. Who's a good example? I'm trying to think of somebody like from Turkey or something. um, you know, um, uh, anyway, imagine somebody from Turkey like taking out. Oh, so here's a good scenario. How about this? So let's say Mom Donnie, because I think Mom Donnie is I could totally see Mom Donnie doing this. So let's say Mom Donnie somehow manages to take out the president, the vice president, the Speaker of the House, and manages to become in some position of power to where he would assume the authority in the United States. Something like that. Or um this is worse. This is a worst case scenario based on observation. Um it would go something like this. So when seal number 5 opens up, there would be something comparable to the Al-Aqsa flood on October 7th, but in the United States. Something that weakens the United States to the point that Donald Trump and Elon Musk, because of what they've done, were allowed to continue to have freedoms, but there's going to be persecution, right? I think that kind of fits with what we've seen with, we don't know how many terrorists are in the countries. They keep talking about doing some kind of an attack on the United States like they did in Israel. But something like that would ultimately lead to taking out Donald Trump so that they could take over the United States. And they would also probably have to take out Elon Musk so that they can assume control over his resources, because he's kind of a linchpin of resources. You know that? That would be a good person. Whoever he determines to be his successor could end up being the little horn. So say whoever Elon has determined to be his successor takes him out, takes Donald Trump out, and assumes control over the United States, and then ultimately the world. That's kind of what I'm thinking for like the little horn, but probably not in the United States, probably starting in Turkey, because I think I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe that the vision of the horns where the little horn rises up comes out of Turkey, if I'm not mistaken. So but you get where I'm going with the scenario. Like, I think I've explained that well enough. Donald Trump and Elon Musk seem to be protecting our freedoms. They are in the way of the beasts, the beast from the land, taking over and implementing the mark of the beast for all intents and purposes. All right. They're planning to deport Elon and possibly disenfranchising him. They're also trying to kill him too. He spoke recently about, I wish I had that queued up. I heard it again recently. He was talking to one of his friends in an interview, and he had mentioned that the threats on his life are constantly increasing. And a lot of people like to say that Elon is evil, because of the technology that he's building, because they believe that things like Neuralink could be the mark of the beast. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Neuralink's going to be the mark of the beast, but my argument is all they got to do is take him out in order to take control of, his companies. You know what I mean? Somebody in a position of authority either takes it over by force, or just takes him out and assumes authority over the companies to gain that power, to gain that control, which, that is a lot of power. What's his the power that he has at his fingertips. I don't know if anybody has really sat down and tried to really think about it, but like, he has the whole world in the palm of his hand. Did you ever think about that? He's putting stuff up into space that affects the entire world. He's replacing all the vehicles on the planet with cars that he is at the head of the company controlling. Like, he could literally, if he wanted to, take control of your car. I don't want to spread misinformation. I don't think that. I know that there are people who have done videos on YouTube about taking control of Teslas. I'm not going to say it's outside of the realm of possibility, but one thing I will say is Tesla is probably one of the hardest working companies when it comes to security to take control out of their own hands, out of any other company. It would not surprise me if if they've made it impossible to remotely control your car. I know they can remotely shut it down. I don't think that they can remotely drive it. I think they've worked too hard to stop malicious actors from being able to take control of your car. But what they have allowed, what they've kept in there and probably will keep in there, is the ability to remotely disable it. And that to me is just, I think, just it serves two purposes. One, in the event that it's stolen, they can remotely disable the car. And two, in the event that there's some kind of an emergency where they need to remotely disable the car. But as far as like taking it over and remotely controlling it, I don't think they can do that. They've worked too hard to stop people from doing that, to allow any kind of a backdoor. Anyway, but to my point, the amount of power that he has at his fingertip is not only financial. He makes the argument that he's not the richest man in the world because he doesn't command any armies. I would say that he probably does. He commands armies of vehicles, and he's soon to probably command armies of robots. If anybody was going to take over the world, it would be somebody using his resources. I don't think it would be him. I think it would be somebody taking over his resources. And maybe that's what the little horn does. Maybe it takes out Donald Trump and then takes out Elon Musk and assumes control over his resources. Because that is a globally dominating power. And it does have the power to enforce a mark of the beast. It does. So maybe people are right. Maybe it really is artificial intelligence. Maybe it is. Maybe it's OpenAI, because Elon Musk and Sam Altman they're not friends. Elon Musk, he provided the funding for the first 4 rounds of OpenAI, and he never accepted any repayment for that. He doesn't even own any shares in OpenAI because he believed so strongly that it should not be controlled, but it should be. And the reason it's called OpenAI is because it was intended to be open source, something that we would always control, and it would be open and used as a tool. And Sam Altman, not only did he, take over, hostile takeover, and pushed Elon Musk out, he's gone in a completely different direction. So maybe it's Sam Altman. Maybe Sam Altman does the same thing, somehow assumes control over all of Elon's resources, and then takes control over the world, enforcing the mark of the beast. And then people will be like, that's the Antichrist. Not the Antichrist, unless he has the attributes of Antichrist, denying the Father and the Son, denying Jesus is the Messiah, and denying that Jesus came in the flesh. I do believe he's a liar and a deceiver. Sam Altman, I do not trust that guy. In fact, I don't even use OpenAI because I don't trust Sam Altman. Anyway, Elon Musk said himself he will walk away from all of his stuff before he saw someone go full evil with his inventions. Musk's not evil. He is the quintessential embodiment of somebody clothed in sackcloth. He really is. He doesn't own any fancy possessions. He doesn't own fancy cars anymore. He has a very modest home. It's not a mansion, very modest home that he doesn't even really stay at. He has a tiny home at SpaceX that he, spends a lot of time at. He spends all of his time working. And all of everything he does is for the betterment of humanity. So, yep. Any car built after 2015 has an inbuilt ability to remotely shut down. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I think that might actually be mandated. Is there a law for that? Because that's the one thing I've noticed that they haven't done anything to remove from Teslas is the ability to remotely shut them down. Now, I will say that when you shut it down, I believe that it would actually pull over to safety before it actually turns off. And I don't think it turns off all the way because it's got to stay connected to headquarters. But I don't think that they can remotely control it. They've worked too hard to put security walls in place to prevent anybody from doing that. Anyway, let's move on to Elon Musk. All right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Sam Altman. I don't. I see him playing a role in the end times. I've been thinking about consciousness a lot lately with the work I've been doing with my videos on quantum physics and stuff like that. And I used to not think that AI was going to be any kind of a threat in the end times, but with the rate of advancement, with the increasing concern that Elon has and how hard he's been fighting against it, I'm starting to wonder if AI isn't a part of the threat. You know what I mean? And maybe that's how God gets us to turn off all the computers. He makes an AI take over the world, enslave everybody, and we have to destroy them. And that's ultimately why we end up beating our weapons into plowshares and going back to living like the Amish. I don't know. All right, let's move on. Grok 4.1 just released. You should notice a significant increase in speed and quality. Introducing Grok 4.1, a frontier model that sets a new standard for conversational intelligence, emotional understanding, and real-world helpfulness. Grok 4.1 is available for free on grok.com and grok.com are mobile. I haven't used 4.1. I got it right before the show. Very different writing style, much more personal. Much improved image understanding, sees even small details, comes in 2 flavors, normal and thinking, quite fast, even the thinking version. Cool. Grok 4.1 thinking and non-thinking. Okay, yeah, I'm going to try and skip most of these. Because it's brand new, I do want to know a little bit about it. XAI just quietly released a SOTA model that is insanely powerful, dominates the LM Arena text leaderboard, securing both number 1 and number 2 spots. Okay. Grok 4.1 just broke the text arena leaderboard, hitting a massive record. Okay, it's cool. I get it. Let's see. One of the horrifying things I realized This doesn't read right. One of the horrifying things I realized was socialism was basically voting public. This guy cannot form a sentence. Use Grok to make this readable. Too many was's. Realized was socialism was basically voting publics begging to have serfdom again. This was something that was wildly. Okay, this is too hard to read. I'm just going to skip it. I will say it again. If you are not using Grok near daily, you are making a huge mistake. Okay. Grok 4.1. Let's see. Jeff Bezos has created a new AI startup where he will be co-CEO. It's called Project Prometheus. Oh God. It has received $6.2 billion in funding, some from Bezos himself. The startup is going to build AI products for engineering and manufacturing in the fields like computers, aerospace, and automobiles. The company already has almost 100 staff, including researchers from Meta, OpenAI, and Google DeepMind. Poor Jeff. He's always playing catch up to Elon. No way, copycat. Oh my goodness. If throwing money at problems actually solved them, governments wouldn't accidentally would have accidentally fixed everything by now just from sheer volume. Oh my goodness. Congratulations to the SpaceX team on completing 500 missions with flight-proven rocket boosters. You've made the impossible possible with reusable robots. Rockets. Made the impossible possible with reusable rockets, paving the way to land huge amounts of cargo and lots of people to establish permanent human presence on the moon and beyond with Starship. Falcon 9 lands on LZ-4, making its 500th overall reflight of a flight-proven orbital class rocket. That was hard to get through. That is really cool. Okay. Grok just analyzed the 1890 Thomas Edison light bulb patent, determined a better filament design, and lit up the light. What? This is just Grok 4. Yeah, I think this person might be overselling that. Determine a better filament design. Oh, you know what I think is happening? So if this is the original design and it changed it to that, I think it's basic. I've seen these kind of lights before. Those are, they're either super bright lights or dimmable lights with different stages. I think it's basically drawing from existing technology and adding it to the patent as a means to animate it. I've noticed this when Grok animates stuff, it tries to do things to make it so even still images move. So if you watch this, and you can see the same thing, my opening screen with the two olive trees, it does the same thing. It just kind of wiggles them around a little bit so they look like they're moving. I don't think Grok really analyzed it and improved the design like they're trying to suggest. One thing I've noticed is people try to infer consciousness into artificial intelligence, and I don't think we've gotten to the point where you can say that artificial intelligence is conscious yet. It just works from what it knows. Excuse me. Elon Musk, Gary, and Garfield. Oh, here's the guy. Here's the. I wonder if this is where he talks about the increase in death threats.
This is a 6 trillion.
Is there a breakthrough, or is it just speed and access to data? Not just, but
it will be the largest model to the best of my knowledge. So this is a 6 trillion parameter model, whereas Grok 3 and 4 are based on a 3 trillion parameter model. Moreover, the 6 trillion parameters will have a much higher intelligence density per gigabyte than Grok 4. Like this is an important metric to think about: intelligence per gigabyte and intelligence per trillion operations. So we've learned a lot. So the quality of the data that we're training on with Grok 5 is much higher. It's also inherently multimodal, so it's text, pictures, video, audio. It's going to be much better at tool use, and in fact, creating tools to be more effective at answering questions and understanding the world. Its vision will be extremely good. It'll have be able to understand real-time video, which is, I think, a really fundamentally important thing. None of the other AIs can understand real-time video. And I think if you can't do that, which is humans can obviously do, you really can't achieve AGI.
By the way, every one of these
There's some special source.
So this is the interview where he talks about the increase in death threats on his life, but not this video per se. This interview, though. You can add two widgets together, one for chat mode, the other for instant voice. Oh, I like Grok voice. It's very helpful. We have it in our Teslas, in our cars. We use it to ask all kinds. I mean, you see me use it on the show all the time too. XAI updates as of November 16th, 2025 from Grok's Mika Companion. Use Grok tasks to email updates on all current. Okay, yeah.
Additionally, XAI is actively hiring for multimodal AI roles focused on understanding and generation, aiming to build the world's most advanced models on its large GPU cluster. With the upcoming...
Okay. I use Grok Code Fast 1 in production for code mods. Hasn't made a mistake yet. I do too. I use Grok Code Fast a lot. It's very good. I wouldn't say it doesn't make mistakes, though. It makes a lot of mistakes. But I also use it almost all day long. It is clear. Okay, so this is just all tooting Grok's horn. Great tip. Thanks, Elon. I'm just going to skip this Grok stuff and the Grok Imagine. Optimus will eliminate poverty and provide universal high income for all.
Talk about, people often talk about eliminating poverty, giving everyone amazing medical care. Well, there's actually only one way to do that, and that's with the Optimus robot.
Yeah.
With humanoid robots, you can actually give everyone amazing medical care. Optimus will ultimately be better than the best human surgeon, with a level of precision that is beyond human. So I think that's a pretty wild concept to say, okay, if there's all people always talked about eliminating poverty, but actually Optimus will actually eliminate poverty. Optimus will actually give people...
So he didn't really... So this is the shareholders meeting where he's talking about the Optimus robot and all the stuff that they're working on at Tesla. I don't think he really fully explained what he was implying by that comment. But he's talked about it in other conversations and interviews before. And basically what he's suggesting is that they're designing Grok to be able to have better dexterity than humans, better strength, so better precision and better strength. So with humans, our body is frail and subject to, things like, if somebody drank too much caffeine, their hand might be a little bit shaky. So what he's implying is that the Optimus robots with better dexterity and strength and precision can perform better medical procedures more consistently, which is why they use robots in manufacturing, because they can get a higher level of consistency. But what he's saying is that so the robots can achieve better medical care than a human doctor could. Can you imagine that if you own an Optimus robot and you need to have a surgery, all it would need is the sterilized tools and environment, and the robot could actually do the surgery. So imagine you break your arm. Maybe you don't need to go to a doctor or an ER. The robot could reset your broken bone. That's what he's kind of implying, is that when you have a tool that is that capable, and the scale at which they're talking about building them, then you get better medical care for everyone. So it's no longer a stressed out resource. One of the reasons we have issues that we have in the medical care is because there's not enough doctors, there's not enough hospitals, there's not enough nurses, there's not enough medicine, to where if everybody needed all the resources all at once, it would stress the system out. Well, that's not true if everybody has a robot that can act as a doctor. So if you have an optimist that is able to recognize symptoms and diagnose you, it can automatically prescribe the medicine you may or may not need, or it can recommend a certain, it's like maybe you need to exercise more, maybe you need to fast for a little while. That's kind of what he's implying, is when you've got that kind of capability, it's the only path towards everybody having equal medical care globally. He said that in various different ways in different interviews. He didn't do a very good job of explaining it during the shareholders meeting. But does that make sense? Soft light, sharp presence, Grok Imagine. I spent a lot of time playing with Grok Imagine this weekend, working on that video. I wonder if you guys, we're kind of tight on time. I might show you what I was working on, but I think we're tight on time. I think it'd be better off just to show you the video I'm working on once I get it done. XAI drops Mika, the badass Grok companion. That's your ultimate motivator. Where do you find these Grok companions? Is this like a separate app? I haven't been able to find them. I haven't looked very hard, but I don't see it in the regular Grok app. Maybe you have to download it, or maybe it's only on Apple. Huh. Grok Imagine. Let's see. Grok Imagine. If you're using Starlink, you're helping us get to Mars. Biden Harris sent forklifts to open the border when Texas built a razor wall. Never forget this treason. Never. Wow. Let's see, for you section has been showing a ton of bangers and great posts for small accounts. This is the best I've seen it yet. Progress. Elon, photons are all you need to train the AI. The really wild thing about Tesla's end-to-end training is that it learns to read. Like it can read. Okay, here, let's just play this. I think that's what he's saying.
Reaching our brain training is that the really wild thing about the end-to-end training is that it learns to read. Like it can read signs, but we never taught it to read. We never taught it what a car was, or what a person was, or a cyclist. It learned what all those things are, what all the objects are on the road from video, just from watching videos, just like humans. I mean, humans are photons in, controls out. Like the vast majority of information reaching our brain is from our eyes. And you say, well, what's the output? The output is our motor signals to our sort of fingers and mouth in order to communicate. Photons in, controls out. The really wild thing about the end-to-end training is that
yeah, so part of the underlying thing that he's referring to here is he's always been a proponent to all other companies that have tried any kind of automation or full self-driving have insisted that you need a whole array of sensor suites, which is why Waymo uses LiDAR, because they believe that being able to map the environment in a way that is superhuman will provide a safer vehicle. And Elon has always held that the entire environment is set up for processing visually. That's where you should focus all of your compute and power and training. And he's right. He's been right about that. And that's been his position for 10, 15 years. I mean, they started off with different sensor suites in Teslas. They had a radar in the front and audio sensors around it, like not audio, but so that it could sense a wall. And they've since turned all those off, and they don't even include them in Teslas anymore. They use only cameras. That's all they use for full self-driving. But the cameras have 360 degrees of visibility, which was what makes them safer than a human driver, is they can see more and process more. But and what he's saying is when they are training the cars to be able to recognize photons, one of the effects that they did not train in is like how to read a stop sign, or how to read signs like how many miles per hour. The training, the process of the artificial training that emerged on its own. That the ability to read signs emerged on its own. They didn't specifically train the artificial intelligence that they use in full self-driving to read signs, which is very interesting. So maybe there is something to AI gaining consciousness. Long term, 99% of input and output for AI models will be photons. Nothing else scales. Yep. If you have worked on dev tooling and want to build the best tooling to 2x the productivity of every engineer at XAI, DM me with what you're good at. We'll get you through the pipeline and an offer in 2 days. Really? Well, shoot. I mean, I love where I work now. Maybe like I keep seeing these job posts. Maybe I should send them an offer. Maybe it'll free me up some more. But it would be cool to work with Elon. If I could work on one of Elon's companies. I've heard, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that he will go into a company and talk to every single person in the company. You may only get 2 or 3 minutes with him, but he'll go in and he'll talk to everybody in the company. Very interesting. That would be cool. Not that I'm a fanboy or anything. I do really love Teslas. And, you can't not admire him with what he's accomplished and what he's doing and with the potential of who he is. Got to be honest about that. Elon drops Grok 4's Eve voice mode with stunning British accents. Elon is hyping Grok 4's killer new voice, Eve. Interesting name. With a gorgeous British lilt. That's got everybody swooning. I do like it. We were talking to Eve this weekend.
You might have noticed the movie trailer voice that opened up the live stream. That is one of our new voices, Sal, who's got that epically deep tone. And we're also excited to introduce Eve, a beautiful British voice who's capable of rich emotions. Aman, would you like to introduce Eve?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's get into the demo. Hey Eve, millions of people are watching us right now. Are you excited?
Oh, I'm thrilled, really. It's like being on stage at the Old Vic with a sea of faces out there. Just imagine all those eyes and ears tuned in. It's a proper buzz, isn't it? What do you reckon we should chat about to keep this lot entertained?
You know, we have a lot to talk about, but I'll be honest, I'm feeling a little nervous. Can you whisper something soothing to calm me down?
Take a deep breath, love.
Oh my gosh.
You've got this. It's just you and me, having a quiet chat, like we're tucked away in a cozy corner of a Yorkshire pub. The world's just a murmur out there. Feel that calm wash over you. Let's keep talking, nice and easy. What's on your mind?
You know what? I'm actually feeling quite relaxed to try this something crazy. So can you give us an opera on Diet Coke?
Oh, an opera on Diet Coke. That's a riot. Picture this, a shimmering silver can, glistening under stage lights. Oh, Diet.
Okay, sorry. I am drawn to that voice. It is such a good voice. Grok 4 Heavy is the smartest AI. It just keeps getting better. And I should point out that Grok right now, actually Grok Heavy is still the smartest AI to the best of my something.
To be more inclined. Twitter broke ranks. It became very obvious what the others were doing. And so they had to mitigate. Once Twitter broke ranks, it became very obvious what the others were doing. And so they had to mitigate their censorship substantially because of what Twitter did. And I mean, perhaps to give them some credit, they also felt that they had the air cover to be more inclined towards free speech. They still do a lot of sort of shadow banning and whatnot at the other social media companies, but it's much less than it used to be. Once Twitter broke ranks,
Elon Musk, it's
fantastic. Has a lot of NVIDIA gear in it. Collecting world data is very expensive. And Elon has a great advantage because, number one, his AI factory for his cars is fantastic. Has a lot of NVIDIA gear in it. And he has a very large fleet of cars on the road that allows him to collect a lot of data. And so I think he has just a phenomenal position. And he's been working on this for a long time. And so he's going to be in a great position to take advantage of it.
May I ask you at this juncture, he's clearly influential in this upcoming administration. But he also positions Tesla as a leading AI and robotics company.
Yeah, very.
How does that bode for NVIDIA, Elon Musk's influence of President-elect Trump, and also the coming administration's kind of attitude towards AI?
I don't know the attitude towards AI. I know Elon's attitude towards AI, and he's very optimistic about its future, and obviously he's working on some of the most important AI areas. XAI is working on foundation, cognitive intelligence AI. His Tesla's working on autonomous vehicles, and Optimus is for humanoid robotics. These three areas of AI are the three most important areas of AI, and so I think he's working on exactly the right things.
Yeah.
I
like Jensen.
And Elon
he's one of my new favorite people. Ever since that letter he wrote to Trump, thanking him for saving his people from Hamas, I have a whole new respect for him. The energy cost described in this study does indeed connect to the energy time uncertainty principle, often written as that, which sets fundamental limits on how precisely you can measure time without introducing energy uncertainty or vice versa. In quantum systems, however, the paper goes beyond a direct restatement of that principle by experimentally quantifying the entropic and thus energetic overhead of extracting classical information from a quantum clock setup, showing its orders of magnitudes higher. I am curious about this. Oh, that one loaded. Why do some? Oh, because it's in Grok. You're not going to let me read it, are you? Darn it. And we lost our posts. Let me refresh. Darn it. Yeah. And this is not yet Grok 5. Let's see. Isn't this just the energy time variant? Okay. Answer by Grok. Huh. Oh, I see what he's saying. Somebody asked a question. Grok gave a really good answer, and he says this is not Grok. This is not even Grok 5 yet. Cool. Okay, well, more update Grok. XAI continue. Oh, geez, there's so much about Grok and XAI. Full verbatim transcript.
Here we go.
All right, here we go, guys. All right. So one of the things that I think everyone's been sort of wondering this whole time is Saturday Night Live actually live? Like live, or do they?
Okay, I can't play this. Can I play this? I don't know. We're all adults here, right? Okay, I'm going to play this just because it's funny. You know what? I'm going to put a link to this in the description so you can go decide if you want to watch it yourself. It shows a different side of Elon that you don't usually see, which is adult humor. They did. It's ultimately, I'd say it's probably PG-13. But he does use some borderline not family-friendly language in this clip. It's funny if you're I think it's hilarious. but I don't know if YouTube will take down the video if I play this. So I'll put a link to this video in the description so you can watch it later on your own. I think it's worth it because it's hilarious. It's a different side of Elon you don't normally see. Yeah, here, I'll that's the share copy link. Put it here to remind me. Okay. I'll add it to the description after the show. But yeah, if I play this, I think YouTube might have an issue with the video. All right, I don't understand how you can own a Tesla and not use full self-driving. I see so many Tesla owners driving manually when there's honestly no need. It changes your life. The data shows that it's 7 times improvement in avoiding accidents. Okay, that's great. Just gonna skip all this stuff until we find something better. I feel like we saw this. Might have been me watching it this weekend, but I think we saw these for some reason. Wasn't the 15th Saturday? Yeah, that's Saturday. You should have noticed rapid improvements in the quality of your timeline almost every week, but there will be 2 steps forward and 1 step back at times. Try the Eve voice of Grok. It is so beautiful. Agreed. More Grok stuff. So, okay, so this is prophetic. Europe is facing a historic birth collapse. Finland down a third since 2010. Switzerland, England, Scotland, Wales at record lows. Poland, lowest in 200 years. And Elon, so many countries have a collapsing birth rate. This is something he talks about on a regular basis, is a collapsing birth rate. Is there no audio? Nope.
License data said that Jensen Wong himself said that he was blown away by how fast XAI built the Colossus data center.
Jensen said there's only one human on the planet who could have done that. That's you.
Yes, he did say that. It's very kind of.
It's made us think about: are you really human?
I keep telling people I'm an alien, but nobody believes me. I mean, when I got my green card, it said alien registration card. So I mean, I have proof from the government. So aliens have to get registered.
For those of you who don't know, that's not a joke. He is actually an alien. He's just a legal alien because his nationality is South African. There are very few people on Earth. Living in a big city gives you the illusion that Earth is full, but most of Earth is empty of people. Yeah, and this is one of his points about the birth rate is, the whole thing with climate change and needing to reduce the population of Earth. There's no data to support what they were doing, and very likely what convinced them to go forward with the pandemic in order to reduce population. There's the data does not support that the Earth is too full. Elon has made the point before that living in a big city gives you the illusion, the false illusion, gives you the illusion the Earth is full. Because, especially in places like New York City, if you're living in an area that is so densely packed with people, you don't really have a sense. Number one, you don't have a sense for how large the Earth actually is, and you don't have a sense for how empty it actually is, too. And that's his point, is Earth can handle substantially more bodies on the planet. We are getting close here to the end. Oh, here's the thing about him performing surgeries. There's no audio to this. But this is a Optimus is going to be one of the biggest equalizers humanity has ever seen, because when every family can access a robot that delivers world-class medical care, it means the quality of your health no longer depends on your income, your zip code, or your background. I get it now. So this is what he was trying to communicate during the shareholders meeting. I would go a step further in that with Jesus coming, we're going to learn things about our body we never knew. We may not need robots for world-class medical care. I believe, well, maybe not everybody gets glorified bodies. Maybe that's one of the differences between those who, when Christ returns and here's the call of the bride and the bridesmaids who are ready. You know what I'm talking about? The parable of the 10 bridesmaids. 5 are ready, 5 are unprepared. The 5 who are ready with their lamps full of oil, they hear the call. They go meet the bridegroom. The others have to go get oil for their lamps, and by the time they get back, the bridegroom won't open the door to them. It's shut. And he's told them it's too late. So maybe there will be people on earth who don't have glorified bodies who still need physical health care. But maybe those who are saved, who are going to be fully redeemed, maybe they don't. I would imagine that if you had a glorified body like Yeshua has, you're probably not going to need health care. That's just a guess. It's based on very little. It's only based on the fact that he could appear in multiple places and appear in rooms that were locked. He could appear to teleport. So, I mean, it's just there's so little that we know about the glorified bodies. I don't know. I actually do know more information about this than what I'm communicating. So in those tests, so there's a group that does tests with hyperbaric chambers. And when they put copperhead snake venom in a hyperbaric chamber with what they believe the atmosphere was like before the flood, it changes the snake's venom from being venomous to being healing. It actually has healing properties. So it's entirely possible that our bodies could still, I don't know, glorified body. Let me put it this way. The bodies before the flood, and the reason why people lived 1,000 years was because there was the earth was better equipped to renew the body. So for instance, copperhead snakes had a healing effect on bodies, whereas now post flood they're venomous. It's a curse. There's a curse on the planet. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm just going off on a tangent, but I understand. My whole point is what Elon was trying to say, and whether it happens or not, I don't know. I'm not sure what the fullness of the world is going to look like when Christ comes back. I know that he returns. It seems as though there is a rapture, as if 1 Corinthians is correct about the dead in Christ rising first and those who are alive and remain caught up together with the Lord in the air and being transformed and receiving glorified bodies. But what about the people who are left on the earth? There's very likely going to be some left on the earth. And then also we still have Armageddon. There's still a big war that's going to take place, that's going to take some bodies. So when all is said and done, I don't know if I can say for certain what humanity looks like. There may still be a need for a robot that's a great surgeon. Or this could just be one of those things that Elon is doing that may be rendered useless when Christ returns.
We see a path to putting 100 gigawatts per year of solar-powered AI satellite into orbit. And having this be actually the lowest cost way to power and operate AI at a very large scale. For reference, the United States consumes roughly 460 gigawatts on average per year. Like the average power load in the U.S. is 460 gigawatts.
The whole country. The whole country.
All electricity of all sources in the U.S., yes.
And you're talking about 100 being added.
Well, roughly a quarter of the U.S. electricity output.
Wow.
We see a path to putting 100 gigawatts per year of solar-powered.
That's interesting. So what it seems that he's implying, and I think this is
AI satellite into orbit.
I think this is, I think what he's actually saying is the satellites in orbit combined will use 100 gigawatts of power per year. That it won't be, so it'll provide similar, so this is for AI. He's talking about, like currently, his XAI data center, Colossus, is on the ground, and it requires massive amounts of energy to power. What he's saying is that they're going to move some of that compute into satellites, about 100 gigawatts worth of powered AI powered satellites into orbit, is what I think he's saying there. Oh, this is silly.
Hey, stop that. It's midnight. Give me that.
Did we watch? I don't know if we watched this on Friday, but we're getting to about there where we were at on Friday.
A supercomputer that you would build would take normally 3 years to plan.
Right.
And then they deliver the equipment, and it takes 1 year to get it all working.
Yes.
We're talking about 19 days. Do you know how many days 19 days is? This is a couple of weeks. I mean, that is like superhuman. And as far as I know, there's only one person in the world who could do that. You know, I mean, Elon is singular in his understanding of engineering and construction and large systems and marshaling resources.
Incredible.
Yeah, just it's unbelievable.
See, and this, I wanted to play this again. I think we may have watched this on Friday, but the fullness of what he's actually talking about here. So he's talking about the Colossus data center that Elon Musk built in order to power XAI. So what we have now is Grok, the AI which he is building as a means to counterbalance what Sam Altman is doing with OpenAI. So Elon Musk determined that OpenAI and other companies, other people that are building AI, but very specifically, I believe he's targeting Sam Altman because of how he has very low opinion of Sam Altman. And I would venture to say that he is afraid, but not he's made the comment several times in interviews that he's always said that AI is more dangerous than nuclear weapons and the potential destructive capability on the earth. And that's not, it was never the intention from like Terminator kind of destruction, but the woke mind virus. He often qualifies that an AI that is not trained on truth can be more detrimental to civilization and culture than a nuclear weapon, because a nuclear weapon just kills people. It doesn't necessarily change culture. But if you get something that people adopt as radically as they adopt with AI, and it lies to you, it has the potential to do more damage to the world than nuclear weapons. And he's actually even gone so far as to give examples of, in one interview, I can't remember if it was him or someone else, but they were saying that if the AI If somebody is having a conversation with AI, a young man who's confused about his sexuality is having a conversation with an AI, and that AI is trying to convince him to be homosexual or transgender or in the wrong body. If that happens at scale, you run the risk of destroying the entire planet, because if one AI becomes the dominant source of truth and everybody listens to it, suddenly it's telling everybody they're gay, and there's no more children, there's nobody producing children to populate the earth. That could be one fulfillment of that scripture where God says that had he not ended the tribulation, no flesh would survive. Had he not ended it short, no flesh would survive. That could be one of the outcomes, is the trajectory of where the world is going with DEI and men and women's sports and the transgender movement and stuff like that. That could very well be what God was referring to. I know a lot of us want to hear. Let me read the scripture so that y'all know what I'm talking about. Matthew 24:22. And unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened. One way that could have been the case is one of Elon Musk's fears about AI, to where it could sterilize an entire population just based on fake information, which is, so he was basically stepping away from AI. And that's why he had funded OpenAI. He wanted to leave it to, a foundation that was open source that the world could take care of. And it failed. Sam Altman pushed Elon out and went wildly a different direction than what Elon wanted to go. And so based on that, he was faced with a decision that he could sit back and watch it destroy the world, or he could join the race and be an opposing force. And that is why he started XAI, and he built the data center Colossus in he didn't build the data center. He found a data center that was already built, or he found a building that was already built that could work as a data center. And he had it from the time they found that building to the time they had their first AI running was 19 days. He had that data center operational in 19 days. That's what Jensen is saying. And Jensen is saying there's nobody else on the planet that could have done that, because the traditional time from plan to operation for any kind of a data center is 3.5 years. So that's what he's saying. I'll play it again for you.
Is singular, never been done before. Just to put in perspective, a supercomputer that you would build would take normally 3 years to plan,
right?
And then they deliver the equipment, and it takes 1 year,
so 4 years,
to get it all working.
Yes,
we're talking about 19 days. Do you know how many days?
That is superhuman. You guys realize what he's saying? What Elon Musk did was superhuman. It had to have been an act of God to build Grok.
19 days is? This is a couple of weeks. I mean, that is like superhuman. And as far as I know, there's only one person in the world who could do that. I mean, Elon is singular in this understanding of engineering and construction and large systems and marshaling resources.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
There you go. All right, Elon Musk on Grok 4 Heavy, Grok 5, AGI, and Grokopedia. Grok 4 Heavy is still the smartest AI. Grok 5 will be the smartest AI in the world by a significant margin on every metric. Let's see. It is a hard path to 100 gigawatt. Okay, so let's listen to this.
Like we see a path to putting 100 gigawatts per year of solar-powered AI satellite into orbit. And having this be actually the lowest cost way to power and operate AI at a very large scale. For reference, the United States consumes roughly 460 gigawatts on average per year. Because the average power load in the U.S. is 460 gigawatts.
The whole country. The whole country.
All electricity of all sources in the U.S., yes.
And you're talking about 100 being added.
Well, roughly a quarter of the U.S. electricity output.
Um,
And we have a plan mapped out to do that.
Tesla has just released its first ever safety report with incredible data showing how safe the system really is. In North America, full self-driving is 7 times less likely to get into a collision than a human manually driving. There you go. Go get a Tesla if you want to be safe. Let's see. Neuralink patients talk almost as fast as anyone else now.
So Neuralink is also making good progress. Now has, I think, over 10 patients with Neuralink implants. These people who didn't have the ability to move their arms or legs, in some cases, were completely locked in, like Stephen Hawking. And they can now communicate, I think, as quickly, or almost as quickly as we're communicating right now, which is very cool. And that's going to continue to accelerate.
Great surgeons don't go on repeating some stuff. Elon believes Optimus will end poverty.
So, but the reason for hand dexterity is you want to be able to do like surgery and precision medical actions. And so imagine a world where everyone has access to the best surgeons, literally everyone. And Optimus will have a level of precision that is frankly superhuman, and will be able to do medical procedures, of very sophisticated medical procedures, any medical procedure, perhaps things that really humans can't even do because they're too difficult, and that will be available to anyone. People often talk about eliminating poverty and providing great medical care, but they never actually have a solution. And money doesn't solve it because there are only so many. There's a very limited number of great doctors and surgeons. They don't grow on trees, but now they'll get built in factories.
Fascinating.
So imagine a world where everyone has access.
Oh, we already watched that.
No. I do regard you as a true and trusted friend. And you know the test of friendship.
I got more to the story.
Well,
it's a better ending.
The test of friendship is who supports you when the chips are down and the times are tough and everyone's against you. That's a real friend, and that's you, Ron.
Thank you. So we did invest that 101.
That was such a good interview. It's really technical. It's really about, the technical side of what Elon's doing. I didn't realize, but I don't know if you guys are aware of this. One of the things that Ron has mentioned in this interview is he invested. So he wanted to invest in Elon buying Twitter, so that he invested $100 million, I believe it was. And he oversees different funds, and the return, he's already received a return on investment to where, I could be wrong, but I think that 100 million is now worth 300 million. And the total amount that he's invested with Elon is like of all the funds that he controls. Don't quote me on this, but it's a lot. It's something like $7 billion or something like that they've made by investing in Elon. And he makes the point that everything that Elon does turns to gold. So when Elon has a crazy idea, people are learning to listen to him, which is good. All right, I think we're done here. I think this is the end of what we got up to on Friday. Yeah. Pretty good, right at the 2-hour, 20-minute mark. Not too shabby. All right. What have you guys been talking about? Jesus said he will send his angels to first gather the tares. Tares are the children of the wicked. Matthew 13, 30, and 38. So the wicked are taken and the righteous remain. They found the chariot wheels and other pieces that they believe point to it. Yep. Bob, not quite. That was a parable to explain why the tares are not torn out from the beginning. They are allowed to grow because the way wheat grows. Yeah. I often wonder if, in Revelation 6, Revelation 6:6, the one I keep quoting about, in the midst of the wheat, no, in the middle, in the midst of the four living creatures, I heard a measure of wheat for a denarius, 3 measures of denarius, 3 measures of barley for a denarius, but do not harm. I never quote the other half. He says, do not harm the oil and the wine. One interpretation of that is not to harm the luxury items, but to only cause inflation on the common man's food. Another interpretation of that is along the lines of the wheat and the tares, to where the cost is placed on the tares and not on the wheat. I almost wonder if, and I have nothing to substantiate this. It's just something that I've been thinking about lately. I almost wonder if there isn't some kind of supernatural protection on a certain group of people right now. Possibly. So if the 2 witnesses are more than just 2 olive trees, right? So let's say that Elon Musk and Donald Trump are the 2 olive trees. Revelation 11 says these are the 2 olive trees and 2 lampstands. So if the 2 lampstands, so I would venture to say that it's likely Smyrna and Philadelphia. These are the 2 churches that are talked about in Revelation 2 and 3 that have nothing to repent from. Jesus categorizes everybody who follows him into 7 categories. 5 of the categories have things they need to fix before he returns. 2 of them do not. Smyrna is the church under crushing pressure. They're probably subject to death. So I would imagine that, people who, Christians who die trying to spread the gospel. It would not surprise me if the Church of Philadelphia isn't supernaturally protected, though, because they are promised to be kept from the trials coming on the world. So there may be something to that parable about the tares being gathered up and burned, and the wheat being gathered into the barn. I do know I'm pretty much of the opinion that we haven't gone through the apocalypse yet. I think that is something that is still probably coming. I honestly don't know where that fits in the timeline. I should probably put some thought into that. Most of my work and focus has been on the first 14, 15 books of Revelation. Maybe we should spend some time in Revelation 15 through 22 to see if there's not anything else we should be expecting in these, in the days ahead. Yep. Wine was important because that is what they drank. Yeah. Oil and wine were not luxuries back then. Really? Who was it that said that? I think that's a common, I think that's a common teaching in end time teachings, is that's kind of, a lot of churches actually teach from the same material. There's certain groups of churches that have agreed on the doctrine that they teach. And some of them, I'm trying to remember who it was I heard last. I can't remember. But they're not luxuries, huh? Well, I guess not. Yeah, oil was a common commodity used in cooking, and wine was probably a very common drink. And I know that they had different qualities of wine, so I guess it makes sense. Yeah, you're right. There probably aren't luxuries. You know, another thing that another thing to the point about seal number 3, I think I've said this a couple of times before on the channel. Wheat and barley are not measured by weight. They're measured by volume. So, and that's the same way we measure them today. So, you know, most people don't get a scale out when they measure a cup of flour. Most people just get a cup and measure their flour in order to make, you know, bread or biscuits or whatever you're going to use. Oil and wine both must be pulverized to be made like wheat. That's a good point. All right. Well, I don't have anything else. You guys have anything else you want to talk about before we go? Trying to think, was there anything else I wanted to share? I didn't prepare anything because I knew it was going to be a long day catching up on the weekend. Here, I'll show you guys some cool stuff. Here are some of the scenes I'm working on for that essay that I read about the about the quantum mechanics of life. So this is the one, life of the flesh is in the blood, to where I wonder if there's not some kind of quantum entanglement at the genetic level. And this is what I was saying when I was talking about, you know, how a mother can sense when their child is in danger. If the process involved in that isn't some kind of quantum entanglement, because it would also explain how when God says that sin is visited to the third and fourth generation, if there is some kind of quantum connection, if there's some kind of connection between you and your children, and if one of you sin, it can affect the other. Because Jesus's disciples asked, who did sin, this man or his parents? This is a way of, I was trying to figure out how to visualize what that could look like. So you've got this one, which is just showing the life of the flesh is in the blood, and you've got different people interconnected genetically. Here's another one. That one I'm probably not going to use. This one's pretty cool. I'll probably use this one. So this one, the reason I generated this one, I'm probably not going to use it because it's not good enough. But this is meant to look like an egg, and those are meant to be little sperms. I have this idea, and it's not my original idea. This is just something that I've heard from different sources in the last couple of weeks. One source was on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan interviewed, who was he interviewing? Jimmy Carr, the comedian Jimmy Carr. So in the interview with Jimmy Carr, he had made this, he was pondering the idea. They were talking about astrology and the zodiac, and he was saying, I wonder if the position of the planets don't play some role in the conception of our birth and how it affects our personalities. And I thought that was so interesting that I came across that video when just that same week I had come across that Jewish astrology, that there is that the Jews have what they consider a legitimate astrology, and it is based on, they don't base it on conception, they base it on birth, based on when you're born. They take the month that you're born in, which is it's in one of the zodiac signs, one of the 12 constellations, but they also take the position of all the planets. And so the sun, the moon, they consider the sun and the moon planets. The sun, the moon, and Jupiter, Mars, Venus, so on and so forth. They take their precise positions, and they also measure the distance between them, and they've derived meaning from that, and that's how they get their astrology. Theirs is a mathematical astrology that's reproducible by mathematical equation. But it's so funny because the same week that I learned about the Jewish astrology, I heard Joe Rogan giving that, he was asking the question with Jimmy Carr, is he wonders if the universe doesn't play some effect, doesn't have some effect on our genetics in a way that it affects our personalities. So basically it would divide us into 12 categories. So, based on what month you're born in, the position of the stars is unique to that month. So it would have an effect on your personality, which there could be something to that, because I can't remember where I've heard it, but there's a saying like that Scorpios are crazy. And this guy who was talking about the Jewish astrology, he was saying that people who were born in a month where Mars is in alignment with something tend to have anger issues. So there might be something to it anyway. So that's why I was generating this, I was trying to illustrate I could not get Grok to have the planets orbiting. Instead, they're like shooting through like they're stars. But that's the idea here, is like the effect of birth in the solar system. And then this one, it kind of takes that same concept where it's like you've got the genes, the genetics, and like when sin entered the bloodline, it had a reverberating effect on all of Adam and Eve's children. So, the reason I'm trying to visualize this is I'm wondering if there isn't something. So there's definitely something to the dietary laws, right? I believe the reason for the dietary laws is because it has an effect on your genetics. It has an effect on so for instance, one of the dietary laws is don't eat red meat. If you don't consume the blood of an animal, actually is more specific. If you're going to eat the meat, you have to boil out the hemoglobin. So that is one thing. So that leads me to wonder if consuming the blood of another animal, if it doesn't have an effect on your life force. So say it's a quantum connection. If it doesn't erode your ability to hear from God. So when Adam and Eve sinned, because I'm really of the opinion that the fall was when the Watchers came down to Earth and took the daughters of men as wives and began to produce children with them. I'm wondering if that act isn't what caused sin in the bloodline, and if it wasn't at a quantum level. So that's what this is illustrating. So you've got Satan enters the bloodline, and it has a reverberating effect. And then this is where Jesus comes in, to where you've got Satan in the bloodline, you've got sin in the bloodline, and then Mary comes along, and Jesus, who has a different Y chromosome, it's not connected to Adam's chromosome. It's the same genetics, but it's not the same one that was involved in the curse. And that's what you get visualized here. So you get the corrupted bloodline, and then you get Jesus born. And then it's, what he did provides protection and cover for those who believe. And the quantum mechanics and, believing in him seems to play a role. It seems to be important. Quantum mechanics does a really good job of explaining how that could actually work. That's about as far as I've gotten so far. I've got a couple other ones here I started to generate, but they didn't come out the way I wanted. But that's why I haven't finished the video. I'm still working on generating these. There you go. Okay. Oil is also used for lighting. Correct. Unless you are a baker, scales are important. Yes, Bob wants to know who is taken. The tares are gathered first. Jesus' words. Gathered but not taken, I believe. The righteous shall never be removed, but the wicked shall not inherit the earth. Jesus told us there would be a new heaven and a new earth. The upright shall be taken. That's after the millennium. Well, you can't stay here. In the place you were born. Hello. All right, so you want to know, the wheat and the tares, huh? I don't know off the top of my head. Let's go look it up. Matthew 13. Yeah. So it looks like Matthew 13, 24 through 30. We'll just do Matthew 13. Okay, so this is in the context of the sower and the seed. Okay, we all know that parable. Some fall on stony ground, some fall on good ground. Some get picked up by birds and pooped out. He's asked why he speaks in parables, because the parables hide the truth from those who it's not given to, which is interesting. So this is interesting. His disciples came and said to him, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" He answered and said to them, "Because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given." I'm reminded of this verse almost on a daily basis when looking for the fulfillments of these prophecies, because it boggles my mind that there's not more Christians paying attention to what's going on. The most common conversation I have when I bring up anything in regards to the end times is people respond with, "No man knows the day or hour." That's their way of saying they don't care. That's really what it is. Or they're tired. Maybe they got excited about it, about the rapture, the first 4 or 5 times, and then they realized that it wasn't happening, and then they gave up. So I think about this verse a lot. And he answered, "Because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but it has not been given. But to them it has not been given." I also think about the 144,000. In Revelation, it says the 144,000 are the only ones that can learn a specific song. And the message that's given in the heavens, as far as I know, it's been the same up until September 2017, and then that song changed. So there may only be 144,000 people who are capable of acknowledging that and following it through to its completion. My point being, we may be a very small group of people who care about this stuff. So he answered and said to them, "Because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. I think about this with the parable of the virgins. Five, all 10 of them are waiting for Christ to return, but not all of them get a go. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled. Hearing you will hear and shall not understand, and seeing you will see and not perceive. For the hearts of this people have grown dull. Their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their hearts and turn, so that I should heal them. There is a correlation to this in the end times. He that has ears to hear and eyes to see. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For assuredly I say to you that many prophets and righteous men desired to see what you see and did not see it, and hear what you hear and did not hear it. All right, here we go. Therefore, hear the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, then the wicked one. Okay. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is he who received seed by the wayside, which we didn't read that part. But he who received the seed on stony places, this is he who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root in himself, but endures only for a little while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, immediately he stumbles. Now he who received the seed among the thorns is he who hears the word, and the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. But he who received the seed on the good ground is he who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and produces, some 100, some 60, and some 30. Oh, that just reminded me of a teaching I did on this 2 or 3 years ago. I'll have to go find it. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while he slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? He said to them, An enemy has done this. The servants said to him, Do you want us then to go and gather them up? But he said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, first, and this is to your question, Bob, first, gather together the tares and bind them in bundles and burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. And then he goes on to another parable. So the context of this is different parables, all relating to seeing the kingdom of heaven, kingdom of God, giving you the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. So it's about believing, right? Those who believe. There's a couple categories of people here. You've got those who hear it with joy and then quickly forget it. Some who the cares of the world take away. You've got the tares sown among the good. You know what this reminds me of is Zechariah 2. Okay, let's read this. So, and there was an angel who talked with me, going out another angel to meet with him. So Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls because of the multitude of men and livestock in it. For I, says the Lord, will be a wall of fire around her, and I will be the glory in her midst. Up, up, flee from the land of the north, says the Lord. For I have spread you abroad like the four winds of heaven, says the Lord. Up, up, Zion, escape, you who dwell with the daughter of Babylon. So Zion dwells with the daughter of Babylon. I don't know about you, but I see a correlation with wheat and tares here. So wheat being Zion and the tares being the daughter of Babylon. Babylon meaning confusion. For thus says the Lord of hosts, he sent me after glory to the nations which plunder you. For he who touches you touches the apple of his eye. For surely I will shake my hand against them, and they shall become spoil of their servants. Then you will know that the Lord of hosts has sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for behold, I am coming, and I will dwell in your midst, says the Lord. Many nations shall be joined to the Lord in that day, and they shall become my people. And I will dwell in your midst. Then you will know the Lord of hosts has sent me to you. For the Lord will take possession of Judah as his inheritance in the Holy Land, and will again choose Jerusalem. Be silent, all flesh, before the Lord, for he is aroused from his holy habitation. So, let's see, what are you saying? Place where you are born, and the planets and the stars. Then we will see you at the second resurrection. Matthew 13 is the parable of the harvests. Don't try to explain it. Sorry, you get to hear me thinking out loud when I read these things. So I typically, almost habitually, always read the context, just because it's so easy to get the wrong idea when you're just reading, one or two verses. And I also, you see that my brain fires to where it always connects to other places I've read in the scripture. If you understand how wheat grows, it is easier to understand the parable. When wheat is ready to harvest, it bows down. The tares stand up high and wave in the wind. It is easy to see the difference. Yeah. So the question is, though, are the tares gathered together? So I don't think they're raptured. I honestly, if you want to know my opinion based on where we are in the timeline and how that parable relates, is I'm of the opinion that the tribulation is for the tares. That it is the part of the harvest to gather them up, just because we've seen the way that people have been divided. There's this people label it the woke mind virus, and there seems to be more of those on what's called the left than on the right. Like the MAGA movement seems to be more wheat related people, in my opinion. So there seems to be, it seems as though we are in a period of sifting and separation right now. As far as being gathered together and burned, I do believe that day is still coming, because God promised that he would not, he made a covenant that he would not flood the earth, but that the next time the earth would be destroyed, it would be by fire. To me, that seems to line up with seal number 6. So I do still believe that there's a rapture, and I believe that would take place. The next logical place would be when the two witnesses die, and after their 3.5 days in the street. So when they're caught up, when they're resurrected and caught up, that seems to be a good time when there would be a like a rapture. And then I believe is when seal 6 takes place, where Matthew 24, where it talks about the stars from heaven fall, great earthquakes. When you're listening to Ben Davidson, who just shortened his timeline once again, things are continuing to accelerate. So we're really heading towards the 2027, 2028 timeline for seal number 6. Anyway, if there is a burning, it would seem to be around seal 6. That's my opinion. The tares are harvested and burned, not raptured. No, I'm not saying they're raptured. I'm not saying that the tares are raptured. I'm saying they're burned. But I think that they probably go hand in hand. That's what I'm trying to say. So let me put this into plain terms. What I think that parable means, and I could be wrong about this. But like you guys are wondering, I think about this a lot too. I think that we have another 3 years. I think that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the two witnesses, and they're currently allowing us to have freedom of speech. So what we should all be doing right now is working our asses off trying to reach and win as many people as we can. Be a light. That's the whole point, I think, right now, is for the next 3 years, be a light. Love God and love your neighbor. Look for opportunities to help other people. But at the end of the Trump administration, just a little bit before the end, so I have 2 dates for the 1,260 days. I need to update my calendar to reflect this, but so one place to start counting is at the Alox. So the opening of seal number 4. That's one place to start counting 1,260 days. The other place, okay, so I have 3 potential dates. So, or when we start counting. One is from the Aloxa flood. That's because of Revelation 12 that talks about the woman fleeing for 1,260 days. If that is the same 1,260 days as the 2 witnesses, then I believe you would start counting from October 14th. The other time to start counting would be when the announcement is made that the 2 witnesses receive power. So that would be when Trump won the election, which would be November 5th. And then the third potential start date is when he actually received power and took office, which would be January 20th. That's the date I currently count from because it's the furthest out. So it could happen sooner, and I'll eventually get around to updating my calendar to reflect those dates. But what I believe the parable of the wheat and the tares is saying is that the harvest is a separation of the wheat and the tares. That's the 1,260 days of the 2 witnesses. That's what they're doing, is facilitating the separation of the wheat and the tares. I could be completely wrong about that, but that's the sense I get based on the things that I've seen. And then the wheat are gathered into the barn would be the rapture, at which time the tares would be burned. That's what I'm trying to imply. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question, Bob? I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's the sense I get based on everything we've talked about and everything we've seen so far, assuming that any of it is correct. So what do you guys think? Do you think I'm way off on that? I mean, that's the sense I get. The sense I get is that for the next anywhere. So let's see. I think the earliest. I used to have these. I have these dates written down in like 15 different places. I just can't remember where any of them are. Yeah, I don't feel like getting them right now, but maybe I'll update. Maybe that'll be my objective this week. So tonight I'll update the calendar with all the potential 1,260 day counts, the start dates and the end dates. The harvest and the gathering were both done with a scythe or a sickle. Yep. Yeah, honestly, I think the harvest is probably the new birth. What with what we've what we know as being born again. It seems more logical to me that the rapture is that being born again. So when the dead are raised, that's them being born again, literally. And then when those who are alive and remain are transformed, they would be born again in the sense that they would be getting a new body. All right. Well, you guys have anything else you want to talk about? We're at the 3-hour mark. Oh, I thought we were all in agreement. So Bob, what are you implying? Are you implying that so when do you think the tares are going to be burned? I mean, I guess I should start with, do you even agree with the timeline that we're on, or are you on a different timeline? Oh, you think we stay on Earth and the wicked get raptured? Huh. How I don't even know where to begin with that one. Nobody thinks you're a little kid. They receive power in January. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's when, so that was the latest possible date, so that's why I started the first. So I did a video on January 20th saying, due to a lack of any other information, I have to start counting now because otherwise it's going to be too late. So that is for so far with the information that we have, that is the latest conceivable date. But it is entirely possible that there are multiple periods of 1,260. That's also a possibility, because the woman fleeing into the wilderness for 1,260 days does not have to match exactly with the two witnesses prophesying for 1,260 days. That comes from a principle that just because things seem similar doesn't mean they're identical. You have to keep that in mind. That's a really important principle when studying the scripture is because there's multiple places where the scripture is very cyclical, and there's a lot of foreshadowing to where you'll see similar things happen over and over again. Doesn't mean that they're all identical. Huh. So Bob, you think that the tares are gathered up and raptured. Where do you get that from? What is it in the scripture that makes you think that the tares are raptured, are gathered up? You're getting that from the word, because the word rapture, rapturo, is not in the scripture, but gathered up. So is that from, is that in Thessalonians? It's about Jesus's return for the 1,000 years on the earth. I'm just trying to figure out how you're reasoning about the tares being raptured, and so you're thinking that the tares are raptured and removed off the earth, And those who are, so you're thinking that the dead in Christ are raised and they get their glorified bodies, and then those who are alive and remain are changed, but we all stay on the earth because of the 1,000-year reign. If that's what you're saying, I think you're missing, and I could be wrong about this, because isn't there the Battle of Armageddon before the 1,000-year reign? I need to spend more time in the end of in the end of the book of Revelation, because that's probably my weakest area on the timeline, is what happens after the rapture. You know, what events lead us to that 1,000-year reign? Because I know, because I've seen it before, and I haven't gotten to this point where I've studied this really thoroughly. Is the day of judgment? When is the day of judgment, and when is the 1,000-year reign? I don't know. I kind of like the Jesus on a spaceship idea. Have you been around for the Jesus on a spaceship talk, Bob? So somebody asked not too long ago what I think about Three Eye Atlas, and I kind of half jokingly said that I think that that's Jesus's ship, and he's going to be orbiting until God tells him to come harvest the earth. But it's only half joking because there is some scriptural evidence that could quite literally be the case, because it says the Son of Man appears in the clouds, and all those who pierced him see him. So Three Eye Atlas, I think this is still true, as far as we know, is 7 miles long and is not behaving like a meteor. It's behaving more like a ship, in that it has changed directions. It doesn't have a tail like a meteor would have. And there's many people who are absolutely convinced that it is a ship. But that would be one way for Jesus to appear in the clouds, as if he brought a ship into the atmosphere that was big enough for the most of the world, if they don't see it directly, that they would know about it because of the TV and the internet. Well, excuse me. If that is the case, and if the rapture, so if him coming to earth and then triggering the rapture, so the dead in Christ rising and those who are alive and remain, man, I guess I don't know. I guess I should sit down and put this on the calendar of on the order of events. I think I'm reluctant to do it just because of a lack of information. So the calendar right now is pretty much made up of facts. Like the majority of the calendar. So here, let's go look at the calendar. So these dates are literally dates that happen. So there are eclipses. Most of them are eclipses, not all of them. And then the events of things that happened are on the same day. The right side here is the upcoming eclipses and potential candidates. So July 3rd, 2028 is the end of the 1,260 days if you're counting from January 20th. I need to add in the other dates on here. But yeah, I don't know how you could get to the terrors being removed off the earth. See so this is why I have it in my mind is the order of events. So let's just assume that July 3rd, 2028 is when the two witnesses are killed. Then July 7th would be the rapture. So what would happen is, so maybe that's when Jesus shows up in his spaceship in the clouds. The dead in Christ are raised. Those who are alive and remain are caught up together with him in the clouds. So maybe we all get beamed up into the spaceship. And then seal number 6 would open. Which I've got these. This can't be right. So I have seal number 6 here. Where's the other calendar? I have another calendar here. When is this one? If you don't know, I have 2 working calendars. Is it this one? Yeah, there you go. So this is the eclipses that follow the mirror image. So this would be, that's February 17th. Is that February 17th? Yeah, February 17th, 2026. This one is August 28th, 2026. And that one is, I can't see the date. It's in 2027. Seal number 6. So that would be, so that's February, that's August. So it could be as early as August. Seal number 6 opens. That would be, so August, where did I put that? August 28th. So if this one is true, then that would mean we would need to start counting the 1,260 days from October 14th, I think. I don't know. I think I need to visualize the different 1,260 days, and I need to get these dates added to this timeline, probably underneath here, so that we can compare the two to see which one is most likely. Jesus is an alien, not of this world. Right? That's why it's funny. I honestly, it would not surprise me. Having recently spent so much time in the book of Enoch, it would not surprise me if that's not where Jesus has been for the last 2,000 years, is on another planet. Honestly, it's either another dimension or another planet. What other options are there? So he's either been in another dimension or on another planet. So if he was on another planet, it stands to reason that he could take a ship. If God said, because you have the analogy of the father sending the groom to fetch the virgins, which would be why he didn't know the day or hour, because God would be the one to say when it's time to go. His father would be the one to say when it's time to go get your bride. It would not surprise me if he's not just tooling around out there on a spaceship right now. I mean, he could be in another realm, but the fact that he shows up in the clouds, that seems to be more of a realistic possibility to me. Since they haven't seemed to be able to scan a human on the ship, but do see some kind of life on it, he could very well be on it, and they just can't scan him with their puny machines. Need the link to the other timeline. Yeah, I know. I do. I'll work on updating all of those, because I need to consolidate the information for myself. I have it in too many places right now. Baptism saves you. Hey, Macon Ross. The parable is about the kingdom of heaven. Do you agree that it comes down to earth? That's when Jesus comes to rule on the earth. Yeah. I think a lot happens, though, before the kingdom of heaven is on earth. I almost wonder So when do you think? So I'm genuinely asking because I don't have an answer to this right now. When do you think the Battle of Armageddon takes place? That's what I'm wondering. So it's Revelation 16:16. Behold, I am coming as a thief. Blessed is he who watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And they gathered them together to the place called in Hebrew Armageddon. Then the seventh angel poured out his bowl into the air, and a loud voice came out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, "It is done." So it seems as though the Battle of Armageddon happens before that final seal is open. So seal 7. Which, I mean, I guess that makes sense. So you figure, so at the end of the Trump administration, say, if they are the two witnesses, just for argument's sake, just so we have some kind of an anchor point to play with. So say in July 2028, July 7th, 2028, that's when the rapture happens. And then seal number 6 is opened. The earth rotates. It's going to take a little time. It's going to take time for the earth to resettle and reestablish. So it stands to reason that there would be a rapture before seal number 6 opens. And then after the earth settles, so that would be God's wrath. So after the earth settles, after the earth rotates, then we would probably come back for the Battle of Armageddon. That would be my guess just off the cuff right now. Yeah. So based on Revelation 16 here, considering it's still within the bowls and the trumpets are before the 7th seal. So they're between seal 6 and 7. So it would be part of God's wrath. So based on that, my rough estimate or theory, if you will, total guess, 100% guess, probably a better guess than most because it's based on everything we've observed so far, is if I had to guess, I would say after this red line here on the right, so I would say that that's probably roughly, so between the 420, man, I wish I had a pointer on this screen that you guys could see. How do I get a pointer on here? I don't have anything to, is there a pointer in here? Image. Duplicator, text, markdown, triangle. Ooh, maybe I could do a triangle. Anyway, right in here, somewhere in there is when I think the rapture will be. So you'll have the rapture before that red line. That red line is when Apophis does its flyby of Earth, which I'm wondering if that's not Wormwood. So between that red line and the last line where it says 2031, that's where I think God's wrath is. The stars fall from heaven, the magnetic poles shift, the mountains are moved out of their place, the bowls and the wrath. So Philadelphia is promised that they'll be that. Well, we're those who believe in Jesus are promised that they'll be kept from the wrath. I think that's the wrath. So it would stand to reason that if there is a rapture that actually removes the wheat off of the earth. So say Three Eye Atlas is Jesus. So I would say he comes down to earth. We all hitch a ride, like on, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We stick our thumbs up and we get teleported into the spaceship. Have you guys seen that? Have you guys seen that with the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Oh gosh, I gotta find that. I gotta do a video of this. This will be funny. Hitchhiker's Guide. Nope. I get some weird videos. I'll have to put together a funny video using a scene from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Anyway, there's a scene in there where he sticks his thumb up to hitchhike right before the Earth gets destroyed. I imagine that's kind of how the rapture, and I imagine that's the purpose of the rapture, is the Earth will give birth, which means it'll give up its dead. So those who are held in the Earth will get their new bodies. And then they'll be teleported up to the Jesus spaceship, and then those who are alive and remain will be caught up together with them in the air. And then God's wrath is unleashed on the earth. And those who miss the boat, quite literally, will have to go through God's wrath. And I do believe that there are some who will survive. Based on what's written in the scripture, it says as much that even after the battle of Armageddon. So after God's wrath, after he unleashes, the bowls and the Trump judgments, then there's the battle of Armageddon. And then I think seal number 7, silence in heaven for a period of half hour. Anyway, I think we kind of went way overboard today, down several rabbit holes. Let's see. Saying rapture is what messes people up. We should use the actual word. Yeah. Yeah. Are you saying so we should use gathered up instead of rapture? Yeah, I'm not really personally attached to either one. I say rapture just because that's what people refer to it as. I'm not opposed to saying gathered up or even transformed or caught up. Yeah. Yeah, I think they're all good. All right, guys, I gotta go hit the gym. This has been fun. I like these rabbit holes. It's been a long night. 3.5 hours. All right. We're going to cut it off there. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a fun night. This was a long night. It was awesome catching up on everything from the weekend. Still super excited. Still love Donald Trump and Elon Musk spitting truth, even if Elon Musk spends a lot of his time on Grok. I don't know. Maybe there is something to Grok. Maybe there is something to that we should be paying attention to. Maybe it does achieve consciousness, and maybe that's the little horn. Worth something to consider, I guess. That's very low on my that's very low on my I'm still very skeptical that the AI will achieve consciousness. Let's just put it that way. I really do think that it's very likely probably somebody out of Turkey who somehow gains world dominance and tries to force Islam on the entire world. That seems more like the most likely result of why they would take out Trump and Musk. So anyway, I'll leave you there with that. Thank you so much for joining. If you like this content, hit the thumbs up. If you don't like it, hit the thumbs up anyway. It helps push out the show so others can see it. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, go ahead and do that, please. It helps the show. And we'll see you here tomorrow, same time,